Duckfest tickets are on sale now. Go to Duckfeed.tv/Duckfest. They are $15. It gets you a full day of live Duckfeed and Friends podcasts in Portland, Oregon on August the 31st of 2019. Further details are available at Duckfeed.tv/Duckfest. We would love to see you there.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireballs. It is a Games Club podcast.
And this week we are talking about Psychonauts, which is a 3D platformer developed by Doublefine Productions and published by Majesco Entertainment for the PC, Xbox, and PS2 in 2005.
Yeah, and this is another executive produced episode. This is produced by a friend of the show, and an all-around awesome person, Gwen.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Gwen.
Additionally, it is a continuation of 3D Platformer Month.
I've been following the trail of breadcrumbs that started with this month, and I think that at the end, the Hardy Boys are going to solve the mystery of whether I like 3D platformers or not. And the answer is still going to be no, I bet.
Yeah.
Like, I'm enjoying Mirror's Edge a lot more than the other two games as far as how to play them, but like it's not like it doesn't have a bunch of problems too. Yeah. I think this genre is fundamentally fucked. And I'm playing the good and bad examples of it, but it's just like there are things that it's interesting because there are things that I think are objectively like are problems. There are things where I'm just like, oh, this just was never going to work for me,
right?
Because I don't think it's that fun. I just don't think it's that fun of a mode, a game genre, really for me.
It's just that there's something very weird because I love exploring, but I do not like navigating 3D space in this way. Specifically in this way, like I love exploring spaces. I think it's like one of the most fun things you can do. There's something about a 3D platformer as opposed to like doing this in first person, where the level of detail and kind of the scale of spaces you're exploring changes. Yeah.
You know, like, so you're not like exploring rooms and seeing like tiny details in rooms in these games. Like you're exploring outdoor areas and just kind of basically seeing the geometry.
Yes.
You know, there's kind of like a weird lack of detail sometimes. And just the, as we'll talk about, like the kind of the threats. Like one of the big things that I think comes through in this game, and we'll talk about, is like consequences for failure. Yeah, in games, and why? Like what is the thoughtfulness that can be put into choosing which consequences for failure you want to have? Like, where does it make sense to have opposition to the player reaching their goals? What is that opposition? How to handle that? Yeah, where does
where can the pushback be most meaningfully and effectively deployed?
Yes. Yeah. And do the least damage. Right. The least harm to an experience if the point, depending on what the point of that experience is. So that's definitely like Psychonauts.txt.
Absolutely.
We're going to talk about it at length.
Even if I've kind of come down, in a similar spot to you, I'm still happy we've done this month. I normally save that for the end, but like we gave it a college try. Like
I totally feel like we gave it a college try.
Yeah, and we played like good examples. We played beloved examples of of this, and not things that were already fraught, like Banjo-Kazooie, where aesthetically it was just never going to be a win. And
right, like we're not like Donkey Kong 64,
right,
as our flagship 3D platformer for this month or anything. And it's like, it's not like there aren't ones that are fun. Like Nintendo makes them, they have Mario in them. Yeah. They exist. Yep. But it's just I think that one of the weird, takeaways from this will be you have to be extremely good to like, not even necessarily to make a good one, but to get over my specific like friction for this genre. Yeah. You have to like literally be best in class. And we have not done one of those. Like we've done one before. Mario Galaxy is a fun game. Yeah. But Let's get into it though, because I think this might be a spicy episode because this is a huge game.
Yeah.
So this is the first game by Double Fine. Double Fine is the studio started by Tim Schafer. After he left LucasArts, Tim Schafer is the man who did Full Throttle and worked on Day of the Tentacle. Mm-hmm. An adventure game legend, like the other name on the LucasArts side of that with Ron Gilbert.
Yes. Beloved auteur seems like a fine video game uncle kind of guy.
He seems so fun.
Yeah.
I watched that documentary about this in preparation for this, and it's just like, man, what a cool boss.
Yeah.
Like he just, everything about this makes me want to like it because it's got such a sweet like story, like not just the game story, but like the story of how it was made and everything. There's tons of drama in it. Like there's a 45-minute documentary about it, and like it makes sense. It's like compelling watching. So it's, and a lot of that is just affection for Tim Schafer. Even though I met him once, I went to a Double Fine party. It's where I met Ron Gilbert, and why we got Ron Gilbert on the show way back in the day.
Right.
And Tim Schafer was glassy-eyed and drunk. I'm not saying that to impinge his character, but it was just kind of funny that I was just like, oh, here's like this legend, and he looked like a deer in headlights, and was like word slurringly drunk from shots that were being thrown in his honor at this party. It was, again, very humanizing. Like,
we've got a thing for creators who have a problem of getting drunk in public. See also Chris Avalone.
Oh yeah, like I love drunks. I love my drunks.
Yeah. So, just a tremendous amount of goodwill towards Tim Schafer that kind of spills over into the things that he has made over at Double Fine, kind of starting with this big budget kind of tentpole game that established a little bit of the ethos of the of what they would ultimately end up doing. And I'm gonna pull this point up from later in the outline, but I think it makes sense to talk about here because you say like, oh, you just want to like this so much because of the story of its creation, because of just the obvious care and love that went into this. Gary, this might be the biggest delta between the amount that I want to like a game and the amount that I actually do. Like it.
Yeah. Another way of putting that I was thinking about in preparation for this episode is I don't think there's a game that I don't like that has more things it does absolutely perfectly.
Yeah.
Like it's not just, because I oftentimes bring up Rocket League as an example of a game I think is like pretty impeccable, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
This, like that does like the thing it does really well. This does so many things, I think, industry fucking standard.
Yeah.
Well.
Like really difficult things to do. It does very well.
And it does the things that it doesn't do well, interfere with that, like in a way that just harms my enjoyment enough to where I don't like playing it.
Yeah.
Like the one of the things I said to you before we were talking about this before we recorded is like, I love to watch a comedy movie while being irritated, having a low level of irritation the entire time.
Yeah.
Because that's what the experience of this is to me. It's like being a little bit annoyed to a lot annoyed and just going between those two things while trying to appreciate jokes.
Yeah.
But I'm always annoyed. Like there's no point in which I'm not like a little bit irritated.
Yeah.
And that's just like, it's not the best way to take in the good parts of this. Another thing I was thinking about, because one of the like this will end up standing as, even though like I think the parts of this that we like, I think we're going to heap appropriate praise on because I am so fucking impressed with them. I think this will end up standing as far as like criticism stuff as one of the only things that doesn't just completely praise this to high heaven, right?
Maybe.
Like when I look at stuff, there is kind of like, like maybe it's a little dated, but I was looking around at reviews and things like that. And it's either all 100% positive stuff that doesn't only talks about the things this does well and doesn't talk about anything, the act of playing it, or everything is portrayed in this kind of mercantile way where this sucks, but it's worth it. But like, this thing sucks, and then blank, funny thing about the game makes it worth it or makes up for it.
Yeah.
And it's so mercantile and exchange based. Like people look at this game like it's a machine that you like insert misery out of to get a gachapon of joy.
Yeah.
Out of. And I know that is a weird kind of abstract way of looking at lots of games. Like you put in a thing and you get something else out. This is one of the only games I've seen where that is so explicit by its defenders, like people who love it. Are just like, the meat circus is obviously the big offender, but people will talk about just the platforming in general and be like, it's worth it for, this specific line or it's worth it for this specific joke.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's just like, why is this? It just feels weird to me to look at art as this exchange like that. That's like not holistic. Like it is a thing where you pay a certain amount of your effort and your happiness in exchange to get something in a different category.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like way back, like first or second episode of the show, where I was like, good and bad things about games exist together. Like it's bad and it's good. It's not a meter that like washes out. You don't get, you know, this porridge is just right.
Yeah.
With games, you know, like you have to get through both of them. And this game is a real like key example of that, I think.
Yeah, no, it just and that is one of the things that happens when you have a game that is as kind of just as well beloved as this is. When people start, you know, looking back fondly on just their memory of the thing, as opposed to just the thing itself, you lack for an integrated analysis that does more than criticize, like the difficulty of the level that they patched, right?
Yep, and that's okay. Like if you have like really fond memories of this, like our job is not to take that away from you. Like we're not trying to blow any minds. It's not, you know, it's Sacred Cow season on Watch Out for Fireballs. It's just, this was the experience I had playing it, and I didn't have very much fun. Like while laughing out loud like several times, like, and really appreciating even on a deeper level, because I instead of playing this as a 25-year-old fucking idiot, I'm playing this as a wise, seasoned 38-year-old, and really appreciating things in a better way, while also just not having too much fun with anything that involved jumping or hitting. Any fights, any platforming, any collecting.
I shouldn't be relieved when the game switches into cutscene resolution.
Totally. Yeah. I'm just like, thank goodness. Yeah. Like enough of this. And then when I got to that final gauntlet of levels, that is like the final exam for the platforming stuff, I'm just like, man, this sucks.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just like that Hannibal Buress gif.
Yeah.
This sucks, man. You know, just like, no, thank you.
Yeah. And you know, like even personally, I can understand intellectually that that like, yes, you know, you are evaluating this thing, you know, in an integrated fashion. You're talking about things holistically, right? Like if it does, you know, I fall into a trap where when I criticize this for not being a fun game, I run up against the other side of me that's like, oh my gosh, there's so much fun. You're laughing, like the dialogue is so sharp and all that. Like, no, those are different things. It's like different kinds of fun that it engages in. But, you know, it's a video game, so that one kind that it doesn't stack up with is actually really, really important.
Yeah, because it's going to be, you know, there are times in this game where you're not engaging with its strongest points, but you're kind of always engaging with its weakest, you know, or like for the most part, like it will go into cutscene mode and stuff, but there is just at any given point, you know, and it's not like, I'm not saying that like walking Raz across a blank like a, you know, just a straight line is misery, right? It's not like all of that stuff. It is, and this is also a generality, but since we're off notes, actually, I'll get to that later. But I'm just saying, like, even when you're trying to engage in the good parts, like you're trying to do the fun stuff or the kind of adventure game puzzle solving, this game has an obsession with needling you, like with having some kind of little platformer enemy shooting you from a distance or annoying you while you're trying to do an adventure game, that I found inexcusable. Like during this, I was just like, would you fucking bowl? If you hit me one more time while I'm trying to solve these fucking painting puzzles, I will lose my goddamn mind. Like the idea that just, hey, every once in a while you have to start over because we put in a really annoying enemy that has symbolic value, that is smart, you know, as a design thing, except for what it makes me have to do as a game player. You know, this represents something awesome in this guy's mind. I love it. Like the symbology is great. But at the end of the day, I'm still trying to solve a puzzle where I'm having to watch a little cutscene where I get hit and have to start over with an alarming frequency.
It just, you know, it doesn't seem like it knows what it wants to be, and it is constantly trying to force the square peg through the round hole. Like, we're a platformer. We're a platformer. You don't have to be.
Yeah, you don't have to be. And we'll get into that kind of like Monday morning, you know, what other ways I feel like this could have got across its strengths and none of its weaknesses. But we should save that kind of for the end.
Yeah.
Because
but general, this entire episode is going to have a patina of we love the theming, but we hate the play.
Yeah,
right.
Because I do not like, you know, the play was never fun. It kind of zeroed out at 0. At like, this is fine. I was never like, yes, this is good platforming. This controls well. This feels good. These are cleverly designed in a wireframe. Like I never felt that.
Yeah, I am playing a 3D platformer.
You are playing a 3D platform. I'm a level. It never felt good enough. The camera was never good enough for what I was trying to do. Like, nothing in it felt as like inventive in terms of gameplay things as the best in this genre does. Yeah. This is a thing too that's like very contrary to stuff I say in on podcasts. One of the things I like about games is like, a lot of times I think like, oh, I need my character to be doing interesting things. Mm-hmm. You are always doing an interesting thing in this game, and it still kind of sucks because the verb you're using is the running and jumping and swinging of this game for it, with the kind of like weirdly, not like brutally hard, like not Sekiro hard, but like way too hard for its own good kind of challenge level at this. While doing something that has the context of being very interesting. So it just like it hits so many goddamn markers that I need it to hit, and yet I don't like it in my hands at all. Yeah,
your goals are interesting. Like, okay, yes. I'm going to cross America. I'm going to go from sea to shining sea, and you're doing it on one of those scooters that you rode around in elementary school gym class.
Yeah, you're crab walking across America, and it's like, yes, I'm going to see a lot of great sights. I'm going to learn about the history of this nation. I'm going to make some friends along the way.
Watch out, America! Here I come.
But your arms are gonna, you're gonna give yourself like triple, quadruple bursitis.
Yes,
like doing it. Yeah. So like getting back to kind of first principles. So for people who don't know, this game you play as a character named Raz. Great design, like classic iconic design. This young psychic boy who runs away from the circus to attend Whispering Rock, which is a psychic summer camp.
Yes. This camp is associated with the Psychonauts, kind of a paramilitary organization of psychics, secret agents and stuff like that. And as Raz, which is short for Rasputin, but I always think of him as Raziel for some reason.
No, that's some kind of cross fiction.
Yes. But yeah, Raz, he is trying to stop this crisis that has come to the camp. And to do this, he has to jump into the minds of people around him and kind of untangle their psychological hangups. And the inside of these minds is where the majority of the levels are.
Yes, which is a brilliant conceit.
Oh, it's so good.
But yeah, before we get into, we'll switch. I've been doing an experiment because I was feeling frustrated about how when I can say like, this thing about this thing is good, but I didn't like this thing, and then people come away saying I hate it because I feel like it was mixed. Yeah. And I think part of it is because I end on the bad thing. So let's do the bad stuff now and then end this generalities with all of the praise.
Yes.
So let's skip over and start talking about jumping and collecting and all of that garbage.
That is actually how I structured this outline, Gary.
That's great. Yeah, that's phenomenal. I saw the little pre-note here about loving the theming, and I want to let's do the opposite so maybe people won't say that I hate this. Even if I like spend a bunch of time talking about how it's probably the best voice acting in any video game I've ever played. So, so you have the kind of expected moveset for this kind of game. You can run, you can double jump, you eventually get a glide, basic melee, you get a ground pound, pretty standard. Like this was very heavily inspired by Rayman 3. That's what Tim Schafer was playing at the time. And it pulls moves from just kind of the style at the time in terms of 3D platformers.
Yes. Let's talk about that platforming because, that combat and the platforming both end up really suffering from the same stuff. The platforming in this is not very good. There's a certain imprecision to it that is very difficult to explain. Again, it runs into, the problem I brought up at Hat in Time. I don't want to be the person who, can't navigate Geralt through the door in the bar or what have you. Right.
Yeah.
But there is a certain amount of squishiness in the hands. And I think all of it comes down to just this really spotty collision detection. Just like the kinetics of this are extremely slipshod, which does not suit the amount of precision that they eventually ask of you.
Well, they actually, I feel like they ask, the other thing too is they ask for precision at kind of really inconsistent and maddening amounts and like kind of spikes.
Yeah.
Like very early on when you get the float power, you get levitation and you can kind of do the peach float with the umbrella. There are jumps in that first level that require you to do the very demanding, like get a running start, jump at the very edge of the ledge, and hit the float, hit your hover at the absolute top of your jump arc.
Yeah.
To get the maximum distance right in the very first tutorial. Like there are jumps in this game that happen way earlier than you think that demand more precision from you than is necessary. Like, I mean, we'll get into like whether any of this is necessary, right? Like any of the kind of like the hardships and such, but it definitely, just for the point it's at, I'm like, why is this hard? Like, I'm still in a tutorial. The tutorial for this game is 40% of it, dog. Like, why is this tricky? And it's not, when I say hard, I'm not talking about this being like, oh yeah, I spent like 6 days trying to get past the levitation course in Psychonauts. It's just adding friction because by the nature of 3D platformers, one of the things I realized that I don't like about the genre through this month, and I've kind of always known this, but it kind of solidified it, is that the most common penalty for failure is falling down to the bottom of a situation and just resetting up the jump.
Yes.
Like, and that sucks. Like, I was playing this on PS4, the emulated PS2 version. I eventually booted up an emulator on my computer just so I could have save states. Just so if I was making a tricky jump, there would be no risk of me having to do the setup again. Yeah. Because later on in the game, here it's not so bad. Like, you know, we're talking about maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds to reset. Later on, you can fall down quite a large series of jumps. Yeah. And to the point where,
to the point where you don't understand why the game didn't just kill you and respawn you.
Yeah. Please just kill me. Yeah. You know, and why is that there are level design ways to make that work. Like, you can just do ladders you can kick down or something like that. Like, there are ways to short circuit that, you know, and I have to think it's a feature. Right? Like, the idea is like, oh man, I didn't make it. I can't wait to get another chance. I'm going to get pumped during the 90 seconds in which I climb back up to this thing. And I can't truck with that.
No. You
know? So yeah, very, very, spotty collision detection that actually applies to the combat as well. Yeah. There are, and just the design of the enemies as well. There's not always great signaling as to what attacks will affect enemies. Enemies have what feel like random immunities. Like, you'll go up to something and smack something, and that's not going to work. You need to, you know, very late, a good example, like there's a late game mini boss where he has like super good concentration. You have to confuse him. Setting him on fire doesn't interrupt his concentration, which like makes sense to me. It doesn't have any sim to it. It's very like you're on a very tight track. Yeah. And the signaling does not always suggest to you what you need to be doing to unlock this specific enemy.
Yeah. So like all of that adds up to just a constant sense of irritation. Like, I found myself wishing that I had played this game into my capture card, so I could just kind of like make a supercut of all the times where Raz like very obviously hit the side of a platform, but it didn't deploy the mantle. Yeah. Just a bunch of stuff like that alone is a pissant thing to get annoyed about. Taken in aggregate, all of those 45 seconds of climbing back up to where I was, you know, that adds up to a really big portion of the time that you spend playing this game.
Yeah, low level patina of irritation. Yeah, it doesn't help with the fact that this has this life and health system. Like a life system, it's very antiquated, even, you know, for 2005. Yeah, which just means that, like, yes, we have these things set up so you can, you know, they're a little bit harder than they need to be. You can fail over and over again and lose more progress. Right. You know, or just watch some more loading screens and lose no progress. Like, I died, I just get to try again. But I get to watch, you know, this, like, again, expertly directed, really, really wonderful little death animation thing. Yeah. Let's talk about, like, the economy in this, because this is another like huge problem I have with this game as far as a low level irritation.
Yeah. So there's a ranking system, and this is tied a lot to your psychic powers. When we talk about the combat, we ought to talk about those as well, because the sloppiness of the lock-on ends up being a real bummer, especially in the boss battles that require you to use specific powers.
I ended up like not really using the lock-on very much because it was inadequate. Yeah. Or even like I freeballed it.
I need
to, for the most part.
I need to TK something. I need to telekinesis something. Like, it's not really absolute if you are like walking right into an object with your nose pressed into it and you press the telekinesis button, that it is going to understand that you are targeting that. Yeah. You know, to select that. Yep. Just a bunch of stuff like that. Again, I feel like I am picking nits, but these are really, really significant nits.
Well, it's the primary verb of what you do in the game. Yeah. You know, like, there are many boss battles based around TKing things around. Pulling the spears from the bowl. Yeah. Again, in that, I have a lot of bones to pick with Black Velvetopia, but, like, specifically, like, those bosses were the ones that underlined to me, like, how much I don't like the experience of fighting in this game. Yeah. And it's that fiddliness. You're right. Like it doesn't, like I'm looking right at it and hearing the same combat. Like I can't get a good grip, like over and over and over. Even though it's like, I'm right here, you're fucking gripping it. like I'm looking right at it, Raz. God, I love you. Why are you such an adorable little shit?
I wish you all the best. I want you to succeed.
Yeah. God, I want to go to your graduation. I hope you get married and have kids and you love them. Yeah.
You're going to be a good dad.
I'm going to adopt you. Like there's this whole very, again, that level of irritation that just like permeates. It like fills your blood. So like the collection, so like the combat again is exactly as fiddly as the platforming as far as like just I say fiddly, it's kind of an imprecise word. Right. It just doesn't work like a lot of the time. The thing you want to have happen in your hands, like
sloppy.
Ideally,
sloppy would be the word I would use.
Sloppy. Yeah. Like what you want in a 3D platformer, when I hear people describe what they like about 3D platformers, it's that by moving this like little avatar around in 3D space, like you feel like they become an extension of you. There is just this line between your brain to your hands, to the controller, to the computer, or to the system. And it just like, this is an extension of me. Yeah. I can do anything I want. And that's something people talked a lot about with Mario 64. And I never felt that in Mario 64, but I did feel it in later Mario games. Yeah. Right. So like, I get the principle. Here, there is always this static interference between me and Raz, where like, I think he's doing this thing. I have him lined up perfectly to do this thing. And because it's just not super precise, like he doesn't do the thing. Yeah. And that extends to jumping and combat. But the economy in this is very specifically. So this is one of those things that where like I'm going to complain about it, and then I can also hear somebody be like, "Yeah, that's awesome." Yes, like it's super good that this is the thing. But to me, it is super bad. Is that there are rank ups? You have psychic ranks, which are tied to getting new powers every 10 ranks you get. There are 100 ranks. And you get them by collecting garbage. Yes. And the granularity of garbage that you get in this is amazing. Yeah. Like there are coins that take the place of these figments. There are Psy cards and Psy challenge markers, right? Which is just gobbledygook. Yep. It's just nonsense that you have to put together to get these ranks as well. And the friction that drives me nuts in this is that you get the cards and then you have to go buy a marker.
Why is that the case?
Why? Yeah. Why? Like, and you're also collecting a currency. So like we've talked about 4 different types of collectibles that just power the move economy. Yeah. Yes, right? Like you get currency to buy the thing, to add to the thing you've already collected, to get the marker. Then there's like the second level where it's like if you get 10 of them, it's like itchy and scratchy bucks. It's like itchy and scratchy bucks. Like if I get 10 of those, I get a new power. And the powers like tend to be things that supplement your combat, but never in a way that addresses any of the problems with it. Right. Like sometimes it'll be like, oh, I can grab things from further away. It doesn't make the game better about knowing what to grab though. Yeah. It doesn't actually address the fun, like the core problems in the combat. It just gives you new verbs. Right. None of which are like super exciting. Like if I knock this person back, they're also hurt. Yeah. Well, I guess that's good. But was it worth like this? Was it worth like running around collecting and grabbing all these things? I don't necessarily think so. I just your mileage for just collecting coins is going to vary. For me, it is not a very interesting thing to do in a video game. Yeah, and one of the massive problems that I had with this, and I've played this game 3 times on both of the replays. This has gotten me. Even if you don't want to engage with the collectible system, like, I'm not going to go out of my way for a figment or what have you. You want to get these rank ups because there will just be times where like, oh, you need this power and you need to be rank 30 to get it. So good luck. Good luck farming for this stuff, or good luck farming for arrowhead so you can buy the cobweb duster. Buy the cobweb duster.
Like why? Like why would you put in these walls? Like I don't understand. Call me lazy, but just like that's just not a system that speaks to me. No matter how good the actual theming of the pickups in the mental world is, right?
Yeah, it's again. Let me opt in. Yeah. To this, like this needs to be purely optional, and that's not even counting the fact that like emotional baggage, which is one of the things that happens that you can collect in the game, is just for funzos. But there's also vaults of repressed memories, which is how you get the story.
Yes.
And those are an A+ find because that's interesting and cool, and you want those things. So they mix in with like the chaff of things that just kind of power this upgrade economy that's sometimes demanded, but oftentimes not, along with this thing that you really, really want.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that is a frustrating thing.
Yeah,
to me.
Adding to the sloppiness, so the thing that takes the place of coins, these figments are one of the things that takes place of coins. Fuck me. They appear in the mental world, and these are kind of transparent sprites that pop up kind of as set dressing, right? They will be themed to the world. They'll be placed appropriately. And it's kind of amazing that you are going around and gathering these figments of your imagination. There we go. However, these are 2D, and the actual collision on them to pick them up is super specific. Like you can just straight up run Raz through what seems like the majority of the sprite and it still doesn't pick up. And yeah, if you are, trying to amass some of these, especially under pressure, you'll find yourself just kind of like circling around trying to like find the right pixel that will get it.
Yeah. Yep. Not to mention the fact that they're 2D. So depending on where the camera is, like you cannot necessarily see them. Mm-hmm. I wasn't trying to collect them all. Yeah. Right. But if you were, total nightmare.
Yes.
Adding to this is the fact that vacuum that we talked about that does psychic cobwebs, which also count as collectible, is something you get partway through the game, which will require backtracking. You go to levels that have sections you can't get to until you come back, kind of in a Metroidvania way, but it only powers the collection engine.
Yeah.
And fucks with your heuristic. Like, this is a game where even if I wasn't playing on a deadline, I would like to just like finish a world. And go and move on and see more of the story and see more of the stuff I like. And it wants you to go back with a new tool.
Every new thing I've seen has been interesting. Stop getting in the way of showing me new things.
Yeah. And that feels very much of like a product of its time.
Yeah.
Like this needs to be long, and it's not long. It's like 12 hours, 13 hours, but there is time backtracking that is spent that is not well used.
Yeah.
Boss fights in this game, I think, are bad. Like good flavor, like oftentimes good flavor, but the fights themselves it's just not good enough in the hands for an action game.
It leans into the weaknesses that we talked about. Yeah.
It's just I didn't enjoy any of them. Like I did not have fun with the experience of playing with any of them. They're too simple.
Yeah.
And they're the things, they're too simple or too complex. Like either the things you think that would work don't work on them. Like there's just an arbitrary, like they have to be in this mode before they can be hit. Or they are just so video game ass as to be like just video game boss.txt.
Yes.
Like there's literally a bowl that you tore.
Yeah.
In this, like it does just feel kind of like we took the mean of 3D platformer bosses and just recreated a bunch of them.
It's kind of ridiculous because these are bosses that are composed of paper thin gimmicks when this game has demonstrated in every other regard, most other regards rather, at least aesthetically, it can really give us some robust gimmicks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of like never in terms of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like it's always in just kind of the context of what you're around what you're doing that have these kind of like robust gimmicks. And the gimmicks, like, that basic verb never changes. So like those robust gimmicks are things like the board game level or like the milkman level, which is a robust gimmick, but it doesn't change the jumping and punching, which is what you're engaging these bosses on. Yeah. Except for this boss, punches don't work. You have to set them on fire, then throw something at them and then punch them.
Right.
The one thing I was really pleased to see, and this could just be because I'm used to this as a general like thing that games do, is that once you figure out the problem with the bosses, they go pretty quick.
Yeah.
Like, or the solution, like none of them have lots of health.
Right.
Like it just like, like I can just wail on this guy and take like 30% of his health. I only need to do this 3 times. That's great. Yeah. So there's a little bit of that, like not reaching for the I get it button. It's just what I did. What I was doing was not that interesting or intuitive.
What I will, one thing that I will praise about the, half about the bosses, half about the levels, the things this game does with scale are really, really
amazing.
Interesting. Yeah.
One of my favorite, every single time it did the push in the board game level. I was impressed by the direction of it.
Yes.
Like every single time. Again, so many things in this that are just like best in class. which is like a good. There's also some minor adventure game stuff, which is fine.
Yeah.
It's not particularly good. Like, it's like you find an item, you walk around, you show it to people. Like, there's puzzle is really overstating it.
Yeah.
What you do with this section of the game. But it's, I like it because it's not the platforming or fighting.
Right. I like it because, even if you make a mistake with it, you're just exposing another piece of dialogue. Then you go try something else.
Yep.
Whatever. Yeah.
Let's get into kind of positives.
Yes.
So let's be nice. The amount of attention to detail in terms of dialogue that are involved in this is gobsmacking.
Yeah.
I was looking into it. So like, not only is there tons of just incidental dialogue, there's dialogue for every character, for everything you can show them, even ones that you wouldn't think. Like, you can take a late game item back to show people back at base, and they have unique dialogue for it.
Yep.
It is full of the TV tropes, like developer foresight thing in that respect. And the quality of the dialogue, both from its writing to like how it suggests, these different characters, how the characters are written, and again, the performance, like the performances here and direction, I don't think are matched.
Yeah. Like,
I was like listening to this, I was like, none of these are awkward line reads. None of these are, there's not like unnecessary vamping. Like there was in Hat in Time.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, like this person is maybe, going a little bit too far, DJ Grooves, like not doing that kind of thing. It's just gobsmacking. Like, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's really, really good.
Yeah. It's pitch perfect in terms of casting, in terms of direction. Like, everything is snappy. Like every line serves a purpose for characterization or moving the plot forward or delivering, like, at the bare minimum, a smile out loud kind of gag to it. And it's kind of like just the right amount of, fun and innocent and a little bit raunchy. Like, it is like, this is a soft PG-13.
Yeah. Yep. A little raunchy, a little dark.
Yeah.
But enough to be genuinely funny. Like, it doesn't feel like a baby game for babies.
Right.
It's like, it's innocent, but it's not too innocent. Just incredible. And just, again, the amount that, hey, I wonder if I show this character this, or like, what happens, this character would have a reaction to this, I bet. And they do. This character said they were going to this area. I wonder what happens if I go to that area. Oh, they're there.
Yeah.
And there's more dialogue and I can continue their subplot.
Yeah.
Like, that stuff is just absolutely just like floors me.
Yeah.
In this.
It's a little bit systemy too, because they wanted to avoid, the fatigue that comes with repeating dialogue. So like, some of the dialogue is kind of pulled together randomly or stitched together in a variable kind of way. And it even like will just throw in vocal tics on occasion to break things up in a way that feels naturalistic, so that you don't kind of like fall into these repeated ruts. Now that goes away when you're fighting bosses and their barks are the same over and over again. But like, when you're just walking around camp, interacting with these intensely likable characters. Yeah.
It's just, just really, really pretty special. They also, there's like a principle, like a LucasArts principle at play here. That's really, when there's like all those interviews and stuff and postmortems with Ron Gilbert, where he talks about how the impetus between Monkey Island was, if you have a dialogue tree, that's a chance to tell 4 jokes, which is something I've always loved. Like, that's one of my favorite things a game designer has ever considered. Right. Here, the way that kind of gets across is if you spam asking somebody something, instead of getting a "but thou must" over and over, they will record, even if you're asking the same question, they'll record 5 or 6 different responses to it that are, again, not laugh out loud knee slappers a lot of the time, but it's at least to reveal character and are cute.
Yeah.
So there is that kind of like, even if you were kind of running in place, you're still kind of getting rewarded in terms of dialogue.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's immensely powerful.
Yeah. There's a fun little anecdote that like Tim Schafer, for his part in coming up with these characters and fleshing them out, he was an early adopter of Friendster social networking there. Actually, that's how he met his wife. And
that's how I met my wife.
My wife.
I've mentioned that before. Yeah. My wife. So I met my ex-wife. like through Friendster. So
yeah,
hell yeah, me and Tim Schafer, wife buddies.
Yeah, but he kind of like thought about like, okay, how would these kids portray themselves in their profiles and in their postings, and how would they view the other characters? So like there are these lived-in relationships and almost like power dynamics between them. Like where the kids talk about each other, there's a social structure for this that kind of fits in naturally with their own little kind of quirks and, traits that would otherwise be very off-putting if that was all they leaned on. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
Yeah.
So everyone's likable, as we mentioned. The world design and variety not only is expansive and impressive, it continues to give throughout the entire game. Mm-hmm. Long past when you think it would give up. Like even the hated meat circus, which is one of the worst levels I've played through for a video game on the show, is at least a unique and new design.
Yes.
Like I don't think that's that interesting. I don't think it's that funny, but it is the level. It's the final world in the game, and they still gave it its own unique theming.
Yeah.
And stuff.
There's a commitment to each of these worlds that is very admirable, I think. Mm-hmm. And, even something as absurd as the meat circus is still thoroughly considered. And there is kind of just a discernible reasoning behind it. It is not just lol random like you would expect something, whose lead voice actor was Invader Zim, would be, right?
Yeah. Even though there are some things that kind of like truck with that a little bit.
Yeah.
In a way that I think it's weird that it gets away with it. Like if you told me like about Lungfishopolis without me having played it, I'd be like, oh, that's dumb as hell. Like that's just very like that's a little random.
Yeah.
That's a Jonan Vasquez crumpled up piece of paper in his wastebasket. Like, but it ends up actually being funny.
Yeah.
And the way they do it is just by being really great writers.
Yeah.
It's very silly in a way that is like kind of pushes some of that little random absurdism too far.
Yeah.
And the meat stuff feels like that to me.
A little bit.
Like it's just that's the meat and the bacon stuff is very dated and very much like that.
But the bacon thing, that was kind of ahead of the curve actually on bacon being good, becoming a meme. You're not special because you like bacon. Bacon's amazing. Everybody knows it. You don't need to underline it. Yeah.
Yep. And that is coming. Like we're due for a resurgence.
Yep.
Almost like it's I bought some bacon jerky.
Okay.
Recently, which is just bacon.
Yeah.
Like when you eat it, it's just like, oh, I'm just eating weirdly shelf-stable bacon.
Yeah.
Like it's like bacon you don't have to cook or refrigerate, but it just tastes like bacon. Mm-hmm. There's no jerky element to it at all. And I also had pulled pork jerky, and it's the same thing. It's like, oh, lukewarm pulled pork that I eat with my fingers. Hell yeah.
Room temp.
It's just room temp, bro. It's very weird. The people at Oh Boy or like Oberta or whatever are out of their minds. Those are the true Psychonauts. Yeah.
The music is incredibly good, I think.
I'm a little less sold on it personally. But it is what it is. I think it's very appropriate.
It's very appropriate. It does lean pretty heavily into some real Danny Elfman kind of stuff. What I am impressed by with it, like I would probably never listen to it on its own. But to match the incredibly disparate visual and thematic kind of coats of paint on the different worlds, the genre and style of the music matches those very well. So you get a tremendous variety of stuff that feels very appropriate for where you're at.
It's scored exactly like a cartoon.
Yes.
So like and like a cartoon, it is appropriate. It doesn't get in the way. I tend to judge music based on whether I want to listen to it.
Yeah.
Like in a general sense. So like contrasting again with something like A Hat in Time, where like I think those tracks match and then are also like bangers.
Yeah.
There's nothing here I want to listen to outside of the game.
True enough.
Like it matches the game very well. I think it did a good job in that, but it's not like a soundtrack that's going to become a work soundtrack for me or something.
Yeah.
But it is extremely appropriate. It's very of a piece. Which is great. So this is a cinematic game, tons of charm, fully realized world, and very weirdly, all pieces except for like a really important piece working towards an end.
Right.
So like you end up in these worlds that are unique, like interesting places to explore that reflect character directly, because they're somebody's brain, that have meaningful hidden secrets, in them and are aesthetically of a piece that leans on all those other things. That's incredible. Yes. Like that's a feat. They're not fun to move through. Like it's amazing. Like it's like that all those things hit and it just and other some people don't find that to be true. Like they're more just like, oh, it's fine. Yeah, but it's not a joy to move through. Can you imagine if this was like a Mario level platformer where it's like amazing in your hands and you're getting all this other stuff? Mm-hmm. Even if you think it's fine, can you imagine it being good? Like wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah.
It's
sufficient but not necessary or something like that. And it just like you can ask for more than fine, or you can expect more than fine.
You can ask for double fine.
See, exactly. Alley-oop.
Alley-oop. Thank you. Team effort. The story behind this coming together is interesting. Mm-hmm. So originally Tim Schafer really wanted to do a peyote sequence in Full Throttle.
Yes.
And LucasArts, being a family company, said no.
Mm-hmm.
To that,
despite all of the other like crazy brutal stuff in Full Throttle
that happens in it, like people get beat to death with chains in that game, but no peyote. Then he decided to make his own company. Mm-hmm. They moved into this like weird basement where the toilet's constantly flooded. And one of the people he hired said like, "Hey, tell me about that idea you had." For this thing, like it was this thing about going into other people's minds, right? And he said, "No, it was about going into your own mind, but actually that's way better." And that was kind of the impetus, like. It's like the twin impetuses are that, and then the him overhearing somebody say, "What color is the sky in your world?" Ooh. The name of the documentary about this, and he was like, he got that phrase stuck in his head. And then like used that as kind of the springboard for this. Mm-hmm. So
appropriate. I'm really happy that they didn't go with their first idea for Raz. The first idea being that Raz would be a mentally imbalanced ostrich. But Tim Schafer is like, video games are wish fulfillment and nobody wishes that they were a deranged ostrich. So here you go.
There's also like a 0.5 version of Raz named Dart, short for D'Artagnan, who like they didn't like how he looked either. But he ends up showing up in the game. He's in a couple crowd sequences and an Easter egg over the final sequence, this final cinematic that they originally had him. So there's a lot of like iteration that happened with this kiddo.
A very long development process for the time too.
So the development, this was a like 4 years of crunch, basically. Like the documentary is pretty crazy because they were saying how, it was really interesting to view it through 2019 eyes because now we care about labor in games, and listening to people talk about it, it's like, we basically did crunch for 4 years, but we were all just new and happy to be working in games. And
danger,
and including Tim Schafer, like he wasn't exploiting anyone. It just everyone decided to exploit themselves. And it very nearly didn't even come together.
Right.
Which we'll talk about. So it was they did this for 4 years. They didn't have a thing that completed. Initially because they worked with Microsoft. Ed Freeze said he wanted to make more artistic games. Tim Schafer's like, that's what I want. But it just kept going. And they ran out of money. Like there's this part of the documentary where like Tim Schafer talks about coming out to the group saying, "Hey, Wednesday's your last paycheck." And then not being able to talk again, like for like a full minute, like just like his throat like closed up. And then he started saying like, you can use our computers to make your resumes. You can work for free until the end of the month while we still have rent to see if we can get this thing done, et cetera. But, we can't. And then everyone was, obviously heartbroken. He went back to his computer, and that's when Majesco had emailed to say they were interested in taking over the project.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
Yeah. But that kind of that 4 years of crunch with nothing to show for it really does kind of show what I consider to be kind of a Double Fine trope, is that I don't think that they're good at making games and like not just like the final result, but the actual process of making them.
Yeah.
Like it seems like a really fun place to work with a great spirit that makes some very special things, where projects are not well managed and there's lots of like not being on the same page about stuff. Just
really, and with Psychonauts, it seemed to make sense because they had never run a company like that before. For first game, there were growing problems, etc. Like down to deciding which building to rent. Like, we can get a cheap building that's in a terrible neighborhood that nobody wants to come to and is really far out of the way. Stuff as basic as that, up to things that you genuinely need somebody with management, experience or education to like work out like what team is going to be responsible for what. Having just like deciding, okay, is it the level designers or the artists who are going to establish the geometry for this world?
Yep.
Well, let's just kind of like pass it back and forth and have
to figure it out.
Yeah. It's like, no,
it'll work itself out. Yeah. There's a wonderful metaphor in that documentary about this where when Tim Schafer brought people on, when he first had employees, he handmade them desk. Like he had like a little prefab IKEA desk and he made them himself.
Yeah.
And he didn't put a stain, like a wood stain on there. He asked people what color they wanted their desk to be.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I just thought that was just like really great. Like, hey, you're coming under this umbrella, you're doing this team and stuff. And then he like pauses and he's like, yeah, and none of them were really structurally sound. We had to throw them all out. And I'm like, that is such a beautiful like metaphor for what I consider this whole company to be and have always been the entire time it's been out. Like, yeah, I've talked about it before. I don't think Double Fine has made a good game.
Right.
Like an unqualified win.
Yeah.
Like Massive Chalice is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Stacking is pretty good for being a very slight thing, but they are full of things that have the Psychonauts problem to varying degrees.
Yeah.
Right. Like you end up with your like costume quest, which is like, man, the game part of this sucks ass. Like this is not a fun game to play. It's just really cute and has tons of flavor.
Yeah.
And then they have all of their like ethics in games development stuff that is chuds use it as a cause, but they're not totally wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like the thing with the space base game that they did where they just abandoned a game a lot of people cared about.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the constantly just like switching to crowdfunding for things because they don't have them managed. And you end up with like Broken Age by having this like all-star voice cast that it doesn't need.
Yeah.
Like just not being super good about spending money. And then like at the end, Broken Age Part 2 is bad. Like they didn't, there's a lot of strife for no reason for this company and people put up with it because they get special things in the end.
Yeah.
Which is again, is also Psychonauts, like in a nutshell.
Yeah. Yeah. And because of the goodwill that the studio has developed, it's hard to say that stuff. Right.
Totally.
Yeah.
I as people, like I like if I met Tim Schafer like now, like if I did, I would feel shitty for thinking that. Like I would be like, I loved your games growing up.
Yep.
Like I love your LucasArts work. I love your writing and your spirit. I haven't liked any of your games though. And like that's just the case. I can't lie about it.
Right.
And I do think that it has something to do with like how they're managed and how they're put together. There's another thing in like one of their like backer documentaries because they've been very transparent.
Yes. There's a lot of just material about all of their games.
Tons of stuff where they're doing a design meeting where they're approving new concepts for games, possibly for one of their like game jam things. And they're sitting in a room and people are just kind of calling out puns. And Tim Schafer is just approving games based on the fact that they're the pun in the name.
Ooh.
Like, and it's just hard to watch because I'm like, I like this dude. This is the kind of thing I would do with my friends. It's not the kind of thing that I would do as like a company where I was trying to make a high quality product and high quality art.
Yeah. Trying to make a high quality product and also provide a livelihood, where people can do their best work. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And it just, it's rough because I love him as a man. Like I think he's great. I think he seems like the best dude. He seems so nice. And in some ways I like the fact that he's so not business savvy. Like it kind of plays into some principles that I have as well. And then at the same time though, like I just think that like when I make something, I want it to be like super good.
Yeah.
Like I don't want it just to be like a funny joke.
Yep.
So I don't know. This is so for a long time, this was the poster child game for critical darling financial failure.
Yeah.
The financial failure part of it has always been a little exaggerated, but it didn't do as well. It's hard for something to do as well as to justify 4 years of crunch, right? Like,
right.
That's a pretty high ceiling.
Yeah, it's a big hill to climb.
Yeah, there's definitely a disparity in this game between its critical reaction and its sales reaction, for sure.
I have an anecdote about this. So around the time this first came out was when I around the beginning of when I started working for GameStop when I was in high school, right? High school job turned into a college job, turned into a sad, I can't find a job. But early on, it was pretty good. Psychonauts came out, and one of the pre-order bonuses was this incredibly cool tie-dye blue shirt with the picture of Raz on the front of it in orange and yellow. You've probably seen one of these. That was a pre-order bonus. So I pre-ordered it and I got mine. I was like, fuck yeah. And then we didn't have enough pre-orders, so we had all these Psychonauts shirts laying around.
Sure.
And I just got all of them. I still have four. I still have 4 of these Psychonauts shirts.
That's all. You should send me one.
I should. It's XL.
So am I.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
I don't wear them anymore because it's not really my style, but I've got one. I'll need to see if I can find one that's in good condition, but I'll mail one to you.
That'd be rad.
Yeah.
It didn't sell super well.
Yeah, didn't sell. Surplus of promo shirts.
Yeah. Yep. It looks like it doesn't look like it actually did get better for them. They got the rights back to it. They started putting in humble bundles. They started like kind of pushing it and stuff. And it's one of those kind of long tail things has become kind of a financial success.
Yeah. Like the numbers that I saw was like, it sold about 100,000 units roughly when it came out. And then when they announced Psychonauts 2, they said just in the intervening time, they've sold like 1.7 million. So like this got enough of a reputation and they just kept it available for long enough. And put it out there to where they could get copies in people's hands.
Yep. So now it's available on platforms. There are versions of it that have like even patched out some of the more egregious design decisions. Yeah. So like the version you can play, the modern kind of remastered version of it has a patch on the PC version that changes the meat circus to make it less hateful. So there actually are kind of modernized versions of it. You mentioned Psychonauts 2. So that was announced in December 2015. It's crowdfunded, which caused a controversy because this company has very dedicated fans, but they have not necessarily been responsible with their fans' money in the past. And then kind of to like wet everyone's whistle, there's an interquel that was released for the PSVR called The Psychonauts and the Rhombus of Ruin, which is a first-person just adventure game, kind of like hour-long experience. Yeah,
I intended to play that before we recorded this episode. Didn't work out to where I could. So I will I'm going to play it and I'll probably do like a solo cast on it.
Yeah. I talked to Will about it a little bit. I mean, it sounds like it's a fun adventure game.
Yeah.
That's only like an hour, so that sounds cool with these characters and stuff that I do like, and they got all the original voice cast back. There's gameplay footage of Psychonauts 2 you can find online, which I watched. It looks, it's cool to see these characters. Like, it's like, I undeniably, as much as I, even after just seeing credits on this and being like, ugh, meat circus, I looked that up because I was, doing research for this. And then it was just like, I want to see Coach Oleander work in an office. Like, that sounds fun to me. So it's still like that charm is extremely powerful, and it's just the fact that this is so transactional and weirdly bifurcated. Like Jim Rose's psychic sideshow dick. It's bifurcated.
Weirdly bifurcated.
Yeah. Unto like a Jim Rose dick. Psychonauts.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Yeah.
So we start out with our intro. Oleander, who I mentioned, who is a short, important later, drill sergeant character. We get, this kind of makes sense because we're going to be introduced to these characters. We didn't really talk about this in generalities. We have to talk about the art style.
Oh yeah.
Because it's very specific. So like a fine artist, Tim Schafer found like a fine artist who did a gallery thing, who draws like this. Like he draws little cartoons that look just like Psychonauts, basically. And it was very important to him to pull from like fine art instead of game art because he didn't want his games to look similar to video games. And it really comes across like it's a weird thing where I think it on like a case by case basis, it like works in some places better than others.
Yeah.
Like, and playing it on the PS2 version is what does that, because the remastered versions of it with the improved textures just look a lot better.
Yeah.
The PS2 version's a little rough, some of the drawings, because they're meant to be grotesque.
Infamously rough on the PS2.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't look super good on the PS2. It's Ren and Stimpy is like a point of comparison. Like these very exaggerated, grotesque characters.
Yeah, Ren and Stimpy,
humans with all different shapes.
Klasky Supo. Yeah, they lean into asymmetry in a way that is incredibly pronounced. And could go bad, but is actually very charming. The characters are lumpy. No two characters have the same silhouette.
Yeah.
Like everybody looks roughly like they are a different species.
Yes. Which is interesting, because they're not. There's a little bit like Doug as well, a cartoon. People just, there's no reason for a character to have, the characters have different colors of skin, but they're not different races as we would portray them as.
Yes.
It's just like, well, this person's orange and this person's like light blue and stuff like that. So that's kind of a shock when you first start playing it, because you get Oleander, who looks just like an exaggerated kind of character. He's giving this motivational lecture to the campers that is extremely harsh. And you look over at the campers, see that he's actually talking to children. As a joke, one of them cries.
Just talking about like, and you're gonna die.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Super great. And then Raz, our main character, who really kind of smartly is the most like aesthetically appealing as far as shape.
Yeah.
Goes. Like Raz and his girlfriend both look like little cartoon kids. So they like these two characters that are going to be kind of our lead children. They decide to make look like people.
Yes.
But he bust in.
Yeah. He's been spying from the trees. And the counselors like drag him down, and the counselors try to get into his mind to figure out where he's at. Nobody can get in. He's got some kind of like shielding in his helmet or what have you. Yeah.
Like Magneto. He does not have shield. I think it's just we find out what the mental kind of blocks are like later. People can't get in there. But he reads the ad copy from the brochure. There are brochures on this that Oleander wrote. And it's enough to impress everybody to where they give him a bunk, but like, hey, we're going to call your parents.
Yeah, so that your dad's going to be here in 2 days.
Yep, giving us a time limit.
Yes.
Here.
Yeah, and we also meet the other the other counselors here. Like we've got Sasha 9, who's just kind of a German secret agent kind of guy, really repressed. He wants to experiment on Raz. And then we have Mia here as well, who is kind of like a 60s go-go girl kind of person. Really good, really charming.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
And they even just the names of everyone is just like really like that's a Tim Schafer thing. Like these are just great phrases that roll off the tongue.
Sasha 9 and Mia Vodello.
So good. Mia Vodella is just really, really great. Yeah. Vodella. So Sasha 9 wants to experiment on Raz since he can't get into his mind, and Oleander's like, no, I got big plans for that mind.
Right.
Like foreshadowing here. One of the things that impressed me in this game that I didn't notice when I was younger is that they can hide by taking the tone and the tact that they do. They can hide foreshadowing as just characters being weird.
Yes.
So like because of the elastic reality of this game, when Oleander says something like, I've got big plans for that mind, which sounds very sinister, you can just be like, oh, that's his cartoon gimmick.
Yeah. Like
he's just, vaguely malevolent because this is a world in which someone can be comically malevolent and have it just be accepted. Like I'm in a cartoon. Yeah. I don't need to question that. Whereas if this were like realistic drawings or whatever, and someone said that in like a season of Legion or something, everyone would know like, uh-oh.
Yep. Bad news here.
Bad news here. So like they actually, it's very clever. The way that the real plot stuff sits in the cartoon world.
Yeah.
Of this.
This stuff has stakes that it doesn't seem like it. And when they finally reveal that there are stakes, it doesn't feel like it's cheap.
Yeah. Yep. They do a great job.
Yeah. So you go and you make your bunk and you go to sleep. And when you wake up, or you in your dream, you get your first kind of experience with Ford Cruller, the leader of this camp, who is probably my favorite voice performance in the game.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very good.
Yeah, it's David K. is who he is.
So he kind of explains some basics. All the kids are getting up to go to basic braining, which is kind of the first part of your very long tutorial. But you can also run around the camp and meet kids during this. This time around, I did not do everything.
Yeah.
As far as like following all of the subplots, like they're all good.
Yeah.
But again, that low level patina of irritation, not something I want to like hold on to.
Yeah.
For a very long time. I also forget kids' names in this. I remember Dogan. That's about it as far as names. I mostly just remember the gimmick. Like I like the cowboy kid. I like the ladies man kid.
Yeah, the ladies man.
I just don't remember their names very well.
Yeah. The only kid who I don't like is the long and winding story kid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Incentivize me to talk to your characters, please.
Yeah, I think that's just them being impish. Like that's the joke, but it's just not my favorite thing. We meet the bully.
Who?
What is that? Why is
Bobby Zilch?
Bobby Zilch. Who is the grossest model I've seen in a video game, and that includes like Silent Hill 3. Like he's disgusting.
Yeah.
I want him to fix his mouth so somebody will eventually put a genital into it. Like I just feel like if he's ever going to grow up and join society, you're gonna need a better mouth, whether you're sexual or not. Like if no one's gonna put a genital in there, it's not a mouth fit for food.
No, it doesn't.
It's disgusting.
It doesn't look like he masticates with up and down motion. It appears to be like a radial, like a rotation kind of thing,
like a lamprey.
Like a lamprey, or like a garbage disposal. The teeth are not so much teeth as protrusions of bone. Ejecting from his maw like bits of shrapnel
from blood gum. Yeah, it's just, he's gross. Yeah. He's grotesque, and he's really obnoxious. They give him a really annoying voice. You're supposed to hate him. It works. Yep.
He's got his little toady too, who just immediately just goes and finds new bullies. If you show Bobby what for, new bullies to work for.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yep. You've got the little sailor kid who's like, hey, I'm going to get out of here. Oleander's a psycho. Here, take my smelling salts. This is how you get out of the mental worlds. And you go up. And Oleander has a little door on his head, and this is how you get inside through the Psy portal. And you are in this mental recruiting office, and the sequence begins when you punch Oleander's projected image, revealing a huge battlefield.
Yep. Very cute. Like, this guy's obviously a military guy, and this is our introduction to that kind of, you're in a level that is somebody's emotional mindscape.
Yes.
Thing that again is really good. Like, I can't understate how cool that is. It's literally a genius idea.
Yes.
So you're running around like collecting these figments, which are again those transparent kind of coin things, and then emotional baggage, which you have to find a tag first and then find the baggage. That's a one note joke. Yeah. It's kind of cute, but it's a little handbag that's crying. Like, I get it.
Yep.
It's cute. It doesn't stay. It doesn't hold on to its welcome the whole time.
It doesn't last a whole game. Yeah.
I wish that these unlocked a thing too, unlocked like some kind of story beat or character beat.
Well, what they do, the levels where I got everything, when you get all of them, you get a little viewfinder that shows you concept art for the level.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. Just not necessarily a motivation for me.
It's a weird thing. Part of that's the internet, but even before the internet, I'm never going to look at that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's just kind of this weird thing where like games will try to tempt you with it. And even in games I love, like I remember playing X-Men Legends 1, and that was I didn't have tons of games to play, and I was, you would unlock comic covers. Oh. And it's like, I don't care. Like I go to a comic store and look at this. Like, why do I want to look at like a digital, like a JPEG of a comic cover? Yeah.
On a television screen with a D-pad to pan around it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's super weird. I'm never going to get involved with those.
Yeah. So you catch up to Bobby. He kicks you off the platform, and this is where you meet Lily for the first time. Like, she catches me because she catches you because she is trying to save this meat plant that has grown here. It's like a little flower made of bacon or what have you. And she has been seeing them in her nightmares. And this kind of relates to the psychic bleed that is going on. Lily just kind of immediately falls in love with Raz. Like, it's a joke that it's, just infatuation at first sight.
Yeah. Yep. You run into another kind of standout character, Dogen, who is shaped like a Dr. Mario pill.
Yeah. He's got a tinfoil hat on.
Got a tinfoil hat. Earlier, you can run into him where he says that the squirrels are telling him he's going to kill everyone.
Yeah.
That pays off later. They're not talking about him.
Nope.
But he's kind of surrounded by these squirrels, and he's kind of slow.
So he's got big Jason from Home Movies energy.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. So you take out a circle of paper and you have to escort him through a minefield. When I did this, he immediately just walked into a mine, and it was great.
So funny.
Yeah, it's so good. Like, the comic timing on it is very funny.
Somebody took Dogen's brain. No, he's just like that.
Yeah. Yep.
It's just incredibly funny, and the minefield isn't necessarily that big of a deal to get around. No. Another standout line: you end up in a plane inside of an airplane. You're going to jump out. He's like, "Hey, do I get a parachute?" Oleander says, "Did Washington have a chute when he crossed the Delaware?"
Yeah, very good.
It's worth noting that the co-writer on this, along with Tim Schafer, was Eric Wolpaw. This was kind of his first big project that he did. He went on to do a bunch of writing for Valve. So he's just like one of the people who made Portal as funny as it is.
Yep. Famously Portal.
Yep.
There's a little section where you have to punch pop-up targets, but not, don't shoot the shooting gallery where it's the woman holding the baby.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, just to kind of teach you how to punch in this. Mm-hmm. You eventually, you're introduced to these mental vaults, as we mentioned. And this is one of these things, because this is kind of like something we'll talk about at the end of the episode, where we talk about, what could this have done other than being a bad platformer? Mm-hmm. And this is a thing where it needs to be a video game for this, right? Like you can narratively describe that Oleander gives you this memory, but hides other memories away. Mm-hmm. And the way that Psychonauts does that is through level design, right? Like they just give you one and then you have to move a little bit closer to find hidden things. Like there's the famous one during Mia's level. That's cool. And yes, that works better as a video game than it would a comic. Mm-hmm. I think I was talking to Will about this, and the thing I settled on was interactive CD-ROM.
Yeah.
Like give me the world of Springfield, but world of Psychonauts.
Yeah.
So you'd still have this cool thing where Oleander gives you a emotional, a vault, a mental vault, and you get to see him it's like Oleander's pride, and you get to see him doing all these war
being a hero in every single branch of the military.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he even says oh yeah, these are, these are memories you don't want people to see. It's obviously bullshit because he is, showing it to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Turns out he was rejected from every branch of the military.
Yeah. Just for being short.
Yes.
He wishes he was a little bit taller.
Mm-hmm.
So you do that, you get his bullshit one. You go down to this shooting range where you're being shot at. You're kind of doing the air platforming, so climbing up poles, jumping on trapeze things, switching back and forth. Again, I love the way that this, Raz came from a circus, right? If we want our character to be able to do this stuff, how do we do that?
Yeah, it's justification.
Yeah, pretty clever. Not super fun.
Yeah, it is a clever justification for a not very good end.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can also jet grind radio down things for some reason.
That just again because it was the style at the time, just like Sonic. Yeah. Like everybody had those soaps shoes, doing grinds and what have you.
Loved them soaps.
Yeah. Bull.
Yeah.
It's fine up until the meat circus when you're doing the tunnel of love, and it's just horse garbage. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you reach the end and you got there before all the other kids. Like there's nobody here. And you're poking around, there's a little, hallway annex over to one side. And at the very end is just this white hallway with a window. And before you can peek through, Oleander pulls you out saying hey, what are you doing peeking around in my mind? Obviously he is hiding this.
Yep. And when you get out, you get your first merit badge here. I love these little merit badge sequence.
with what is basically just the Rocky theme.
Yeah, it's great. Then you do this awesome little pose. You're very proud. You have the little badge on your backpack.
Yes.
For basic braining. So now we're back in the camp. Bobby, the bully, is still being a jerk. He threatens to beat you out. Beat you out. He threatens to grab your pussy and beat you out. But Sasha 9 walks up behind him. Yes. I think your girlfriend Lily points him out, and he says you should come to advanced training if you can find the geodesic psycho isolation chamber, which you have to kind of show to people. The interface for showing people items, and this is pretty annoying. Yeah, there's a lot of inventory tax stuff going on in this, a lot of press and pause and navigating between menus to pull things out and equip powers and stuff like that.
Yeah, but everybody has a piece of dialogue about it. And a lot of it's helpful, and all of it adds to characterization. It is good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is where you can explore the camp. It is still daytime, so there are not psychic animals running around just yet. And this is where you're going to do the majority of your talking to the other campers and getting their flavor. The window to interact with them is much narrower than I recalled.
Oh yeah. Eventually they stop. Once it gets to be nighttime and once the actual plot kicks in. Yeah. This they have one line after that, basically. It goes away kind of. There's a lot of it here though. So I love kind of standouts. I love the two kids in the band, the levitators / fire starters. I think that's really cute.
Yep.
and really fun. I like the cheerleader kids. Yeah. Give me Wet Hot American Summer vibes. Like, I enjoy that.
It's very similar to home movies. With those two, I forget their names. They're the kids who are always hugging each other. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
It just all very good. I even like the Russian who's obsessed with the bears.
Yeah, I love that guy. That little arc is great.
Yeah.
Him and his buddy.
And it's funny because all of them seem, crazy, right? But like most of them are correct. They're onto something in a really good way. Yeah. So you head over to the psycho isolation chamber. Throughout the camp, you can jump into these stumps, which will take you to Ford Cruller's lab. And this is where he kind of like deputizes you. He's like, oh yeah, I'm the dispatcher. I'm, watching for psychic anomalies, whatever. And this is how you get your tutorial. And kind of a secondary interface. He gives you the piece of bacon, to summon him. And he pops out of your ear like a genie.
Yeah. Yep. He's going to be a psychic stowaway.
Yeah.
You also learn a little bit, like we've seen him before. Like he's the janitor. He's the guy who, operates the camp store, things like that. He's been yelling at over the loudspeaker about dream fluffs.
Yes.
Over
dream
and over.
fluffs.
Yeah. So we don't know his full story, why he's kind of all these roles yet, but this is kind of the hint.
Yes.
About it. Eventually you can get to Sasha's lab and use that button to get in. He hooks you up to this brain tumbler to send you into his brain. To him, he's like, a brain is ordered and neat, and he has this like Modron brain, like you're on a gigantic floating glowing Tron cube. This is his shooting gallery level.
Yeah. Before we get there, though, we have to go into our own minds.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that thing.
Because you've got to go into the collective unconscious. And this is where, this is a little bit of, strange pacing. Like, you go through this until you find, until you hit an obstacle and you have to go get a new power. But, you appear inside the static egg, and when you break out, it's kind of the circus, but it's also kind of, full of thorny kind of foliage, and you're chasing a bunny right up to a big demon. So Sasha pulls you out and says, hey, you need to learn to defend yourself. So we're going to go and we're going to do the shooting gallery after you get the learner's permit for the combat.
Yeah. Yep, it is weird pacing. I forgot about that because this has a lot of, none of that stuff comes up until the end of the game.
Right.
Like we kind of put aside all the stuff in your own brain, and then move on.
Yes.
To this thing.
Yeah. So this is what an organized mind looks like, as opposed to Oleander's, the big cube floating in the middle of the void.
Yeah.
And different stuff pops out of it. Kind of, just whatever is necessary. These gigantic structures or what have you. And you look at this and you say, yeah, this can't be healthy.
Yeah. And it's not, right? Yeah. And he introduces some of these kind of repressive elements.
Yes.
To things. So this is where you learn about, sensors.
Yes.
As well. After that's a little bit ahead. At first, he's just giving you your shoot power.
Yes.
You're on the cube, and he says, we need to destroy some things that are hideous, things that are cannot be suffered in this world. And he shows you this tacky lamp.
Just Tiffany lamps.
Yeah. And you shoot those just in kind of a static thing, and then you're just the sensors, as we mentioned. The sensors are little men in suits that just say no over and over.
Yep. I love the variants, the variants on the sensors. Like when you get strong sensors.
Very funny. Strong sensor is a very funny joke.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Yeah. 9 doesn't know why I was attacked by sensors in my own mind. Like you can say oh yeah, I've seen these before. I was like, okay, well, the things are obviously weird. I'll give you your badge so you can use the shooting power outside of my mind after you kill 1,000 sensors. So if you come back, if you just do a couple a day, you can have it within 3 weeks or something like that. And he gives you the dial to kind of regulate the flow of these sensors. And so you can, fight a few of them, but what you're going to ultimately want to do is turn it up and then break off the dial, causing these sensors to spew out like a fire hose. Yep.
Or the little skull section, where it goes up to 11. So 9 shows up and says hey, this is not acceptable. I'm going to try to fix things, keep these sensors under control.
Yes.
So you're here, you're on the cube, fighting. Like different kind of geometry will pop up as you do this. There's a mental vault here.
Oh yeah,
you can find
the mental vault is important. It explains a little bit of why he is the way he is. Because it shows him losing his mother. The hatred of Tiffany lamps is not just like being a particular fussy European kind of deal. No, one of those lamps was on the nightstand next to his mother when she died, and he was there.
Yeah.
Yep.
People online somehow got the idea that he worked at a lamp store. I saw that in a wiki, and I was like, even for you, what is that that wiki game dot or whatever?
Yeah.
Even for you, this is not great.
Yeah.
It's because of that.
Yeah. But he lost his mom at an early age, and his dad was kind of neglectful, kind of locking him away in the playpen.
Yeah. Yep. Kind of blamed him or just otherwise didn't care.
Yeah.
So you go through a few phases of hitting these sensor valves. You have to platform to get to. It's not terrible, but it's not great. But there are these little flame guys.
I hate these things so much.
This introduces the Psychonauts problem of giving you an adventure game task to do and then crafting a really annoying enemy to stop you from doing it.
Yep.
Or harry you the whole time. And there are like a million examples of this. Like it happens in more levels than it doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's just, if the idea is to be annoying, like congrats, right? But there's a reason why Castlevania didn't have Medusas in every level.
Right.
That's a gimmick of a level. But in Psychonauts, like there's the bull, there's the little guys that shoot you while you're doing the board game.
The fucking rats.
The fucking, oh man, dude, the rats. Like it is constantly like, how can we annoy the player almost? Like it's just impinge, and it's always when you're doing an adventure gamey or platformy thing. They're never a combat challenge, really. It's always this thing that like, can we just like needle you? Like the entire time you're trying to write your novel, someone's going to be tapping on the back of the head with a pen. Is like what this feels like. Like it is really frustrating.
Yeah.
These things like the platforming here is fine. It's before it gets very challenging. The enemies are not.
Right.
And you don't have very much health at this point too. So like you can see you can die during this. You can get kicked out. If you lose all your lives, you get kicked out. You lose all your layers of astral projection. That's a huge bummer.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. Starting this over sucks.
Yep. And they end up having to repeat stuff. Not everything.
Yep.
Like it does checkpoint to a certain extent, but just raises the question, why kick me out at all?
Why?
Yeah.
I do it.
One of the reasons that these guys suck is that they are mixed in with regular sensors. And if they get close to you, they will explode. If you punch them, they explode and do damage to you. So what they're trying to get you to do is to get a little bit of distance and then lock onto them, and fire your shots, right? And then shoot them.
Right.
So they die. However, they're very quick and they're always mixed in with regular sensors. And as you are fighting the lock on, they will end up closing the distance to you.
You'll be trying to hit a sensor and hit them.
Yeah.
So, no good.
No good at all. So,
you
eventually close off all these valves that regulate the sensors as they go, and Sasha's like, all right, here we go. This is good. And you ask, hey, so what happens to the healthy, ordered mind if you just completely back up all of the sensors? And what ends up happening is a gigantic mutant sensor emerges from the cube and stamps Sasha. And he is chasing you around trying to stamp you. And Sasha is barking advice to you as he is flattened on the end of this stamp.
Yeah, fun cartoon. He absorbs small sensors to heal himself. So you have to close all the valves, more valves to kind of finish him off, so we can actually kill him. Actually do damage to him. He's chasing you around a cube. This is very Mario 64. Like you being on this kind of cube space. Eventually you kill him, you get your merit badge, and you say kind of like, hey, what can we ask about that? Like what happened? And he's like, we will never speak of this again. Very cute. But he also reveals that he knew you were going to do that.
Yeah.
Like he sees himself in you, quite literally, as we'll find out later. And he knew you would turn the machine up.
Yeah.
Like this was all part of the plan to train you.
Yeah. So. Raz is like, and you getting flattened on that stamp, was that part of the plan?
Yeah.
Like, no, it wasn't.
No.
Again, Sasha projects the image of being under control when he's actually not. He's not. Good character.
It's good. Yeah. Yep. So now you can go back into your own mind. Now that you can shoot, so you can go kill that beast and follow the rabbit, where eventually finds this bramble and meat-filled passage.
Leading up to this gigantic tower at the top of which a crazy dentist is torturing your friend Dogen.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that he's a dentist.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's I can't remember the exact line, but there's a really good line about it.
It's like, can you really take my nose? Can you really take my brain out through my nose? How should I know? I'm a dentist.
Yeah, how should I know I'm a dentist? Like, very funny. And this is like, it's actually the main plot of this kicked in faster than I remembered.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're still in tutorial mode for quite a while, but they started doing the Dr. Lobato stuff a lot faster than I thought.
Yeah.
You can't get to the top of that because you can't levitate, so you need to do Mia's tutorial.
Yes.
To learn how to levitate, which so you head over to the lake. That's where Mia's going to be at. And this is where you find out about Raz is, again, a clever justification for an annoying thing. Mm-hmm. In a platformer, they don't want to fuck around with water. So Raz talks about how he has this ancient curse on his family that they'll die to water. Mm-hmm. And the way this articulates is you can bounce on water twice, and then like a ghost arm grabs you and pulls you under it.
Love the animation for that.
The animation's great for it. If you fall in it while you're trying to platform to collect any of the stuff, like this was still early on when I was like, oh, I guess I'll go get that Psy card. Like, it's right there. Before I was like, fuck this. Like, I do not want to collect a damn thing. Yeah. But you fall into it, and it's hard to control. It reminds me of Mario getting hit in the fire. Like jumping on the
fire. Except for the very explicit thing that is exactly that later on.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Wow. And we also, when we meet this Elton character here, he talks about how there's been this brain-eating fish that walks out of the lake at night. Mm-hmm. So again, most of the kids are right.
Yes. Yeah. So it seems like urban legend, seems like, crazy psychic kids being crazy. No, it's exactly what's happening. And to confirm this, Dogen starts walking out of the lake, arms out, doing a zombie walk, talking about TV and hacky sack. Which just brings to mind, like, how antiquated is that notion that, like,
I was gonna say the TV thing, like TV watching zombies.
Yeah.
Like, I guess that was a thing in 2005.
Maybe, but but like, I don't know. It's a thing that I just take for granted in early Simpsons. It's like a TV makes you stupid. For one more. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like it's but yeah, the idea of being a TV zombie, like a couch potato, is very kind of dated. Yeah, and stuff.
These kids just looking at their phones all the time,
That's the way it would do it. They would do it now. Yeah. It would just be like a Ben Garrison cartoon, like a kid, masturbating to an iPhone while kicking Trump in the balls while Trump just greases up his oily, muscly chest and strokes his gigantic dong directly into Ben Garrison's face, because Ben Garrison is weirdly sexually aroused by Donald Trump, and not in a gay shame way. It's just a weird thing to look at this wet president and be like, this is the Adonis who I want to have get my face pregnant. Like, I think that's fucking weird.
It is incredibly weird.
That guy is such a weirdo.
It is such a disconnect from reality.
Yeah, super strange. So you vow to help Dogen. Mm-hmm. You get a canoe. You have to have that other license before you can get a canoe license.
Yeah.
Kruller is working the boat rental as well. And this is where Mia is holding her levitation party.
Yep. This is so good. So all the kids are kind of sitting there. You talk to Lily like, hey, they took Dogen's brain. No, he's just like that. Mia echoes that later on. Very good. Yeah.
It's clever to start with Dogen.
Yes. So Lily and Raz, they're having the same dream about the dentist. So she's like, hey, I need to go investigate that. And so you go into Mia's mind where, we've got the party. And you are in her like 1960s go-go psychedelic levitation bubble world, which is probably the most charming anything has been, especially with her constant announcements about getting to the party.
Yeah. Well, it's also, I think this is like the least annoying level,
Yeah, probably.
Like this is like the actual, like the bouncing on the ball kind of floaty jump you get when you have that is actually pretty satisfying.
Yeah.
I don't like it when it's like super demanding, again, when it's like you have to actually like do the absolute
right
stretch of that jump.
I don't like having to discern between where ball bounce jump is needed versus a double jump and a glide.
Yeah. It is a little bit fussy to have this extra third kind of jump as opposed to an actual levitation.
Right.
But it's not bad. And the theming is cute. The music is funny. All the kids are just having a great time.
Yep.
So you walk up to them like, hey, can you teach me a dance? And they're just like, just watch me. Like everyone's having fun. It does. The sense of fun that gets across in this is really strong.
Yeah.
So,
and Mia as a character just being this incredibly upbeat and supportive counselor who is obviously incredibly good with kids.
Yeah, she's wonderful,
and supportive.
Yeah,
like just glowing.
Yep. There's a race you have to do. That's a little bit annoying. Again, they just kind of tune this to be more difficult than it should.
Yeah.
Be, and the reason it's annoying is because of momentum. The way to get back up to speed on this levitation ball takes a long time. So the race is actually way too easy if you don't hit any obstacles, and way too hard if you hit any obstacles.
Yes.
And just, again, obnoxious. Like, should not what be.
Yes.
There is this great little bit here, though, where you can find this hidden room with Mia's repressed memories. And it's funny because she discourages you from going, like, that room's not fun. The party's out here, We definitely don't want to go into that room. She kind of like cheerfully tries to discourage you for going in there. But if you go in there, you find her repressed memories, and we get her kind of, everyone's got their emotional baggage in this game. She used to run an orphanage, and it burned down while she was getting groceries.
Yeah. And I either she realized she had psychic powers because of this, or her psychic powers made it worse. She heard all of the anguished screams and thoughts of the kids as they died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's had to block that out.
Yeah.
So
grim.
Pretty heavy. Yeah. Heavy stuff, like heavy and dark, and it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at the end, you get to the party. Raz gets his levitation merit badge so he can go into the brain tumbler to rescue our Dream Dogen.
Yes, Dream Dogen. Dream Dogen, I know. Someone's idea of fun. So you, when you head there, Sasha explains the thoughts of another entity are interlacing with yours. So, and that is foreshadowing for the reason why you're dreaming of meat. At all. You go inside and you witness Dogen. You see him actually sneeze out his brain.
Right.
And Lobato heads over to work on Lily next. You chase the brain down a chute, and you end up in this blueprint world where there is this blueprint tank that you fight that's powered by Dogen's brain, foreshadowing one of the final bosses of the game.
Yes, I love the blueprint world, just the visual style that they attach to that. Yeah.
Yep. Super neat.
This is a fine fight too. You end up needing to shoot the tank while it's reared back so you can expose its belly and do a stomp on it.
So. It's fine. It's very from the Mario 64 collection. This is one of the ones that feels not annoying, but very just 3D platformer .text.
Going through the motions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So when you get to the end, Raz is looking at this blueprint in the white chamber that he recognizes, hey, this is an Oleander's mind. And Sasha pulls him out of the experiment because, hey, Psychonauts business is called. I need to go. Right when you have made this, terrible discovery. And Ford says, hey, we need you to hurry because Lily's down by the water. You need to go rescue her.
Yep.
and she is turned on by all this action.
Yep. She might get caught by this gigantic fish.
Yes.
So when you go down there, you go to the bottom of the lake in this bathysphere. There's a great, what kind of camper are you? You don't know how you run a bathysphere.
Ain't you been to camp before?
Yeah. Very cute. There's this huge air bubble. There is a sequence of being chased by this gigantic lungfish, which is not great.
Yeah.
Is this where the boss fight is with it, where it sucks in and you have to break the boxes of nails?
It's kind of mixed together is the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. There's kind of a boss fight going on here. Nothing special, nothing terrible. But ultimately you're victorious over the lungfish, and use Sasha's psychic portal to go inside its brain and destroy this implant it has, which gives the first level that everyone remembers.
Yes.
In this game, which is Lungfishopolis. Which is a kaiju homage.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah. And it is incredibly good theming.
It's very funny. The actual moment-to-moment writing in this is very funny. And the idea of you being the kaiju, you being the Godzilla in this is very funny. The actual joke, and this game just does great things with scale in general.
Yeah.
Right? This is the big level, but there's a small level later that's really great. and there are all these brainwashed lungfish that live and work their day. Like the whole thing is kind of presented as a newscast. And like the thing when you first like meet one, you're like, hey, and they just screams because you're deafening him because you're so loud, and you keep trying to apologize and whisper, and you just kill him.
You keep on. Yeah.
And then another guy pops up and goes, it's okay, he knew what he was risking. Like that's very funny. Like this is genuinely very funny. And we learn the actually, just real quick too, another joke in this is the Navy keeps doing weapons. I know this is jumping ahead, but the Navy keeps introducing weapons that don't have to, like Navy's introducing the weapons they're famous for, airplanes. Yeah. And it's a funny joke. And I was looking on the TV tropes of this, and sometimes I fucking hate TV tropes. Yeah. Like I think they're their worst kind of nerds. Where somebody like in the fridge section where people, it's like, oh, things that you occur to you later, right? Like don't seem to make sense in the moment. And someone's like, yeah, it's a pretty funny joke that the Navy keeps bringing out airplanes. That is until you realize, and then hyperlink, aircraft carriers are one of the Navy's biggest assets.
Hey, you dingus!
When you realize, like,
you realize,
like, yeah, you thought that you thought this was silly. Yeah. However, it's actually a fact.
Hey, brain genius joke getter. So it's either that, or you realize Oleander doesn't know shit about the military and is a paper tiger.
Yeah, because he wasn't actually in it.
Yeah.
Or alternatively, it's just a funny joke.
Yeah.
That the game does by subverting that expectation, the wins in performance and delivery. Quit trying to solve this.
Yeah.
And also just the cadence of that. And then I did, like, you couldn't have given me enough money to click on the hyperlink for whatever that was, like the source. You decided, like, yeah, this seems like a good joke until you realize aircraft carriers. And I was just like, sometimes nerds.
It links to aluminum Christmas trees or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like sometimes, man, just like, and I don't even have to get into wild mass guessing to hate those people. Like,
nope.
And I go on that website. Every time I pop on there, I was like, "It's the 10th site page you looked at this month," and I'm like, "Stop reminding me."
Don't remind me.
I keep bringing the old World of Darkness pages. Yeah, they're fun.
Of course. Like it's a fun read and a good resource. But
but some of the people, anything you have like a wiki set up where it's just people, the crowd.
Yeah,
there's gonna be some low cards in that crowd, and this is one of them. So we basically the setup here. The resistance is Kochamara is they're resisting, who's kind of their Ultraman.
Yes.
There. And they'll help you find Lily if we do that work for them. Mm-hmm. And this is the first level too that, and previous to this, I don't think this was really a problem, where even when they're charming, they're like 20 minutes to a half hour too long.
Yeah.
This goes on. Mm-hmm. Like it's funny, but man, the things you do keep going on.
Yeah.
Like they're long. Like these levels are long. Way longer than then stretches out like the charm, really. Like jokes continue throughout that are still good, but the actual concept part of like I'm climbing on buildings and stuff, it just goes on for a very long time.
For how welcome these concepts are, it is kind of astonishing that they're able to wear them out.
Yeah. Because it's having this constant parade of new concepts and setups is a great thing for pacing. Yeah, but not if you just jog in place in each one.
Yeah, and for a long time. I can kind of understand, like, hey, we're going to make the assets and we got to give folks what they want, and this needs to be a 10-hour game.
Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Just periodically as you're going through here, you get these news broadcasts. It's obviously done by Oleander, Kochamara, Kochamara. Yep. And the newscasts are very funny because like they'll have, obviously some jingoistic propaganda or whatever. And then at the end, just kind of like just subconsciously, it'll say like, it is a good thing to kidnap kids. When you kidnap the kids, please make sure the brains are intact, etc. In between, Oleander saying, somebody said that they heard Gagalor talking about how much he hates freedom and the economy.
Yeah, I love that. It's very good. And like man on the street interviews and stuff like that. Like the presentation kind of things they do with this, where things kind of switch up are very, very good.
And they don't just have you like scaled up and you're doing your full move set. Like you can't do your ball run, right? Because you're too heavy. Like there is an added heft to Raz's motion in this. And there's a little bit of like a 3D, rampage kind of feel too, because there are some buildings that you can climb and there are other ones that you just kind of stomp on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you destroy this prison, and some resistance members give you a shield power. You get, which I never really liked using. Like, it is too much of a inventory pressing pause tax to equip a shield. Yeah, this should have just been a button in any universe. But you can use it to get through this laser tunnel and free this blimp pilot. His plan is to spread these pamphlets. Yeah. And they're like, we have a lot of work to do. We have to find a decent but inexpensive printer and get these things. It's, again, very funny. Yeah. And you obviously don't care about their actual struggles. Yeah. You're fighting through the city, getting these propaganda things until eventually you get to this island with Kochamara's radio tower, and you do a boss fight, which this combat barks got really annoying to me. I don't know like how alone I am in this, but this wasn't funny to me. It's making fun of how like kaiju or Sentai movie, things, people announce their attacks, which I also think is dumb. Yeah. But he just announces them literally what they are. Yes. Hard to avoid area attack. Things like that. And you hear them a lot. Yeah. It would be a fun thing in a cutscene. Yes. And like it plays into the gimmick. So you get the shield power in this. What you're waiting for him is to shoot the deadly pause to load new dialogue triangle beam. And you have to shield when the triangle beam was coming out so you can reflect back at him. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And there's no reason for just punching not to work on him. No. This is the first time where that kind of got on my nerves. Like where I'm like, okay, like you want me to do a thing, but there's no real narrative explanation for why, like narrative or just like semiotic explanation, like nothing visually that reads that I can't just punch this thing. Yeah. Let me do it. Just make it not very effective. Yeah. And at least a little effective, like that wouldn't hurt. But they do this kind of thing a lot in this game where it's like you actually have to do this weird little gimmick. The thing's invincible to that, but like it makes me think of Mario games where they signal that by having like really really loving animations of like your hand bouncing off. Yeah, like you're like hitting the sword against the adjudicator's gut. And they just like really signal that like, oh, this is too and they don't really do it in this game. Not a huge deal, but a little bit annoying. Yeah. So Raz moves to destroy the antenna, but Kochamara destroys it on his way. He doesn't need the lungfish anymore because he has Lily's brain. Yeah. Lily's brain is super powerful. The lungfish now worship Goggalor. He is their new leader. And when you go back into the real world, the spell has been broken on the lungfish. Speaks to you in this, wise monster kind of voice. Her name is Linda. Yep. Linda. Yeah. And she puts you in her mouth to carry you through the lake to the island with the insane asylum, where all of this is kind of emanating from. Yep. In between, you can go to Ford to get your telekinesis training, and we find out why he can't leave. His personality has been shattered through this stuff, and he needs to be close to this Psytanium. Yes, these Psytanium deposits to amplify his powers, to have him put it together. When he goes up on the surface, he doesn't rember who he is. Yeah, so that's why he's the janitor and the boat master, all that. Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah. So you need the spider web duster at this point. They made the absolutely gobsmacking decision to make it take 800 arrowheads to get this. Which means grinding against enemies, like going back to the camp at night and dropping one or two of them at a time. Yep. Yeah. Dropping one or two at a time, or engaging with this terrible metal detector kind of mini game. Yeah, you get a dowsing rod to play Chocobo Hot and Cold. Yeah, and Chocobo Hot and Cold was never good, friends. I know people like that mini game for some reason, but boy, is that fucking obnoxious. Like, Hot and Cold is not a very good game in general. Nope. As like a concept, like, I get it. Like you're kind of honing in on a place, but like game it feels like a very big stretch. For what you're engaging with that. Yeah. And then you get like 30 of them, right? Like the dowsing rod, I think cost 80. It's like 60 or 80. And when you buy it, like the little bark, it's like, oh, that thing will pay for itself in 3 or 4 doses. And I was like, oh no. Like, you mean I get like 15 to 20 of these, for engaging in this thing? Kill me. Yeah. And it meant grinding up. Yeah. So I just kind of ground some stuff up to get this progression mandatory doodad. Yeah. So the secret to this is like the big deposits. They are in pre-assigned places. You can just go online and find a map. Yeah. And go after the biggest ones, which reduces the time that this takes substantially. Still, really bullshit to just put a grinding wall in the middle of this, especially for like a major power
that will, that determines progression. Right.
Yeah. This should have been optional or not, I don't know. It's annoying to me. Don't make me engage in your grindy nonsense. Yes, it was the style at the time.
Yeah.
I want these people to know better.
You could have been the first.
Yep. You could have been a trailblazer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we move on to the next level. The guard at the front door of the asylum is this conspiracy nut. He's very paranoid. You can't get in, so you throw a door on his head and go inside, and we're introduced into another famous level from the game. Probably the most famous.
Yeah.
Like this and Lungfishopolis are the two of them I hear about the most.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a little stronger, actually.
Yeah.
This is the Milkman Conspiracy.
I love the Milkman's Conspiracy quite a bit, despite the fact, or probably because of the fact, that it is not like any of the others. It just leans on the adventure game side of this, and I don't know. I'm always a fan of conspiracy stuff. Like it is a good and fun aesthetic. Give me your Dale's Gribble and your Deus's Ex.
Yeah, and again, legitimately funny.
Yes,
like it actually elicits laughs.
Yeah. And just the visual design of this place, like the down to the geometry, it's not something I had seen before. And I don't know that I've seen it since, because you're in this like 1950s suburbia kind of deal, but the street, instead of just, being on a plane or on a sphere, the entire level is this big tangle of space. Like you can look up and you can just kind of see the geometry spiraling into madness as it gets all tangled up. It is such a good visual metaphor for what's going on with this guy's head as he gets twisted around the axle, trying to figure out what the squirrels are doing or whatever. That it's just stunning how well it works.
The actual geometry of this stuff, I give a little less credit to. Like, I think it's cool. I think it's good. I feel like I've seen wacky shit where you walk on the walls before. It doesn't like that, but it does, like, the original idea. It's interesting. Like, that documentary, there's like a little telling thing that to me kind of talks about the lack of control over making this thing, where Tim Schafer told the artist, the level designer, to make this like a spider web.
Yeah.
Like the idea was this web of conspiracies, right? Like this guy's house is at the center. And all these things lead into it to kind of visually represent a conspiracy.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of came back with this instead. And he was like, and Tim Schafer went, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
And I was like,
not
"Oh,
that.
Okay. Like that sounds about what made this game." And I'm not saying like a spider web would be better or that this is bad.
Yeah.
I just, it's like, okay, like it's, I feel like I've seen a psychic scape where you walk on the walls.
Yeah. What feels different is, it, like, in the moment, it's not like you are walking on the walls. All that it changes is your skybox, and it just kind of changes the horizon. More so than anything, and like leaves you just off guard enough without getting in the way of like actual navigation, because the actual thing is like really linear. You're making your way around this knot.
Yeah. Kind of making your way through doing like essentially an adventure game.
Yeah.
Puzzle. Like that's the other reason why I kind of like this level is that there's very little combat in this, and it's mostly a density of jokes and showing people objects. Like adventure game again is kind of a little bit like you explore to find an object that allows you to explore a different area, to find an object that allows you to explore a different area to find an object.
So you're in the suburbia, and there are these secret agents who are obviously agents, like G-men kind of guys, shadowy faces, red eyes, wearing trench coats and fedoras and what have you. And they're not so much disguised as they are doing their jobs, as they are just holding a prop and saying, "I am a road worker. Look at that woman's big breasts."
Exactly. I am holding a sign with a red. I am holding a stick with a red sign.
And also just
the sign means stop.
And also using the stuff wrong, like using the being on the road crew and using the stop sign as a shovel, or like I am a grieving widow and I'm holding this bouquet, but I'm strumming it like it's a guitar. Like what a funny fucking just like visual gag.
Well, and the delivery is just A plus.
Yeah.
Like here, like the voice acting on these guys is so good. And then the way that like the character, like I feel like if this were like a baby game for kids, the character like Raz would be super slow on the uptake.
Yeah.
Of this, but he's not. Like one of the things I like about Raz as a character is he's really smart. It says he figures this out. Like he looks at the thing and he immediately starts playing along as soon as you have to start getting into areas. Like I am a street worker. I am a street worker. Hello, good day. Did you see the sports game? And you can walk into their area, something like that. It is like gameplay wise, there are, for failing those or making an incorrect guess, it is just an instant fail. Like you get a little fun game, a little fun losing your life screen where they interrogate you. That is cute and good, but it is a little bit annoying.
Yeah, and then interrogation updates
to instant stealth.
Yes,
fail almost.
An instant stealth fail is bad. That death scene is really good because it updates depending on where they found you or like how far you've gotten.
Yep. And there are like, it's random which ones you hear to a degree. So it updates, but there will also be ones like, what are the goggles for? Like things like that, which pays off later. It's super fun. Yeah. You also get my favorite power in the game here.
Yes.
When you go to his house, you get the clairvoyance badge. So you can see the world how he sees it. You use this on things and you can see how they see you.
Yep.
And this is very rarely used for puzzles. Like it is used for a couple puzzles. Yeah. But mostly it's just like a really cute little touch.
Yeah.
To like see how other people see you, and they're fun and they're unique. Yeah. Like you can go and everyone in the game has a different one. Yep. And yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
It's really clever.
I only ever really engaged with it here, which like, if you're holding the stop sign or whatever, go up to any of the agents and they look at you, all that they see is like a cardboard cutout. Kind of version of a street worker or whatever. Doesn't look anything like you, but like that is how thin your disguise has to be for them to be convinced by it.
Yeah. Yep. Really just phenomenal stuff. So we find out like the milkman died in a fire, so we need to get into his mausoleum by posing as a widow. Again, if you have flowers, like I am a grieving widow. You are a grieving widow. I will give you your space. His body isn't there. There's just a book there.
Right.
However. And while this is happening, there's a subplot of a Girl Scout group called the Rainbow Squirts, which is gross, who are running around, who are scared of you. I've used the clairvoyance. They think you're this milk-stealing goblin.
Yes.
So you cannot just like go up to them and get what you need. Like you have to actually kind of be more clever about it.
Yep. So they're hiding and running around corners and stuff. Another nice touch is that like as you're going down the street, you will see cameras poke out of things. So like the top of a fire hydrant will open up and a camera will snap a picture of you. Props will follow you around, like they'll move behind you.
Yeah.
And you can you can talk to them as Raz and say, hey, are you following me?
Yeah.
To a mailbox or whatever.
Yeah. I'm a mailbox. Yeah. Super good. And obviously, I mean, can't remember if we brought this up, but obviously the crows on the train are an homage to this in A Hat in Time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just going from the last episode.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned Milkman back in the last episode. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So the next major goal here, you go back to the security guard, say, hey, here's this book. And he says, oh, I was completely wrong about everything, which is what I expected. Here, what we have to do, we need to get into the book depository. You have to go through the sewers. And he gives you a rifle. And Raz is like, oh, now we're talking. And like, no, this is just so you can get past the assassins.
Yeah, so you can just look like all these assassins outside the book depository, which if you would guess that the people on TV tropes felt like super geniuses by being like a book depository, hyperlink remind you of anything, you'd be right.
Wait, so this pastiche of conspiracy theories takes in a prominent detail from the most famous conspiracy theory in American history?
Apparently so.
Woo.
Apparently so.
Nothing gets past these guys.
The genius guilt getter has figured it out. It's just like amazing. So you can get into the book. You can get into the book depository now, and you can use clairvoyance in order to get into this post office. You get the plunger, and then there's these things that happen where this is annoying to me. I think this was them trying to spice up the pacing.
Yeah,
where you're walking and you get pulled down into this like, psychic void space to fight a monster.
Yeah,
just kind of a monster, and like I don't know. Let me do the funny adventure game part.
So these are called nightmares, and these were rejected bosses that popped up and that were originally supposed to be in different places. They decided, Milkman Conspiracy doesn't have enough of what we want this game to be. So instead of just throwing these bosses out from elsewhere, what we will do is just put them here, apropos of nothing.
Yeah. I don't love it.
No,
I don't love the fights, and I don't love that they're here.
No.
So inside the sniper in the book depository is actually one of the Rainbow Squirts. She shoots a bunch of these agents, and then you from here you can grab this like helicopter helmet, remote view to find the Milkman's actual tomb. and get there. I use this phone to get on the wires, grind over it again, just kind of doing some platforming stuff.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, bloop, until eventually, once you have the phone, you're a phone repairman. So you can use invisibility to get into the Rainbow Squirt's house, where you meet the den mother.
Yes, invisibility is another one of those powers you have to level up to get. And they love just doing these puzzles where somebody closes a door and you have to understand, I have to turn invisible so I can get through that door before they close it.
Which you might not have that power unless you're engaging with the economy.
Yes.
So bad design. You get in and you fight. The den mother is there. She's presiding over a meeting. And we have led the agents and the sensors there.
Yep. I just love the scene of all these authorities rolling up. Yeah. And the den mother, she retreats into the milkman's tomb, just the purpose of the rainbow squirts, other than to sell rainbow treats. They really stop themselves from saying rainbow cookie. They've got to protect the milkman so that people do not harness his power or what have you. And so you follow her down and fight her for a boss fight that at first is really basic, but then she turns out the lights, her crazy 50s angular glasses or night vision. So you have to use clairvoyance to see through her eyes and go and find her. That is a cool gimmick. I like that.
It's a cool gimmick. What you end up doing is not particularly fun. And aiming the boxes at her with telekinesis I found that tricky.
No.
Like I kept falling just short of her. Like things that felt like they should hit would not hit. There. But it is a cool gimmick. To go do so. It's also very classic, like you just got this power, now use it on the boss.
Yeah.
Which is a weird thing that the game doesn't always do. It pops up in a couple of things, but like here it's very prominent. Once you defeat her, the milkman wakes up. It turns out the milkman is Boyd. He kills all the agents and scouts with these exploding milk bottles because the milkman is this like secret agent arsonist, like a code name, which I love that. The milkman, and he throws Molotov cocktails, like super, super good. He opens the door, the front gate of the asylum, holding a lit Molotov cocktail ready to blow it up. There's a part where you're like, is that real milk or exploding milk? Like,
yeah, you see, he's saying this is what the world wants. It's what the world deserves.
Yeah, and he says something like covering it in white creamy justice or something. Like it's pretty good.
Yeah. And so he holds this pose in real life at the front door of the asylum with the burning Molotov cocktail until the very end of the game.
Yep. Very fun. So you have to, you meet this woman named Gloria here. This is kind of the beginning of getting 3 objects that allow you to disguise yourself as Dr. Lobato to continue through.
Yes.
And this is the worst one, I think. The second time when I tried to revisit this, so I played this 2.5 times. When I tried to revisit it, this is where I stalled out.
It's not good.
I hate this.
Yeah.
Like I this and Black Velvetopia, I hate. Like I like these levels are, and then obviously Meat Circus, but it just feels like you don't even have to say it. Like,
right, it goes well.
But like this is a really bad level. Like, does it check the good boxes? Like, is it a clever way to show manic depressive disorder? Yes. Is it one fucking iota of fun to play?
No.
Like in terms of what you do, not even a tiny bit. Like the boss is bad, the actual mechanics are bad, and one of the just like friction things that it adds is like switching between these modes, which we'll get to, just takes a lot of like doing.
Yeah,
something that should be a button like is like this climbing this ladder, walking up to this thing, hitting it, walking back down. After watching this little cutscene every time you do it.
Yep. Trial and error. Like you watch the scene that's deployed to see if it works, and if it's in the wrong mood or if it's in the wrong set, you have to do annoying navigation to set things up, and then go back into your inventory, pull the thing out, be kind of in the be on the right part of the level in order to fire it, so you can watch the scene and try again. Just a really annoying amount of setup in between iterations. Yeah.
This was the first level they did. This was the level they were trying to complete in order to show off to people. When they first did their like first public display, this is their first level.
Yeah.
So I don't know if like usually like a first level, like when we talk about that, it's like usually one that a lot of care went into it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this was the good one, but it's like it's like the second worst level in the game.
Yeah.
Which is just kind of weird arc. But it makes sense for like people who have never made this type of game before, like learning, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like while the Painted World of Ariamis could be one of the best levels in Dark Souls 1 because they have the Demon Souls experience. They had no 3D platformer experience, so their first level is maybe not so great.
Right. Yeah.
So,
let's get into the details.
Yeah. Because the flavor of this is fine. I do think this is not super funny.
Yeah.
There are funny touches, but this is way less like laugh out loud than the two things that bookend it. So, yeah. It's also like, so when you go inside, the producer kind of yells at you for interrupting, and you learn that they've fallen on hard times. They used to have this hit, but now they go back and forth between this happy and sad play, and they no longer have a hit. And there's this critic named Jasper in the box seat who is, criticizing them, is the only person who watches.
Yeah.
I also think that, like, and of course I think this because I'm a professional critic, right? But like, I do think that media that is like, oh, the critics are the problem is kind of weirdly cheap and I don't know, like Lady in the Water style.
Yeah.
Bob Balaban and Lady in the Water. I think that's cartoonish to be like, these are the real problems. I'm a dreamer and I'm trying to create. And it's like, well, yes, like the act of creation is magical and good. No one would ever take that away from you. The idea that evaluation of work shouldn't happen is weird. And no one says that about any other pursuit.
Right.
Other than art, like the idea that it is somehow profane. I guess teaching, like there's that, like those who can't teach kind of thing. Like, so teaching gets that same kind of like disrespect, but like, it's a weird idea.
It comes across as very small on the part of a creator. All I can think about is the famous story of Michael Crichton naming a character after one of his most, just virulent critics or what have you. Somebody who didn't care for professional rivalry there or something. And in the story, this character, like the defining trait was he had a very small penis. And this is a famous lawsuit because in order to sue Michael Crichton for libel, this person who had his, who was basically slander for this.
Drop dong.
Well, I mean, so I believe that he didn't sue because he would have had to approve. He would have had to approve that it was a lie. He would have to say like, no, he's lying. I don't have a small penis. Here, I've got to show you. And I don't think the lawsuit went through. I always think about that anecdote and I think of just how petty that is.
Well, and the point of that anecdote is always to be like, lol, that dude has a small dick. He couldn't prove it. Here at Watch Out for Fireballs, we're fans of all kinds of genitals. There's no such thing as a bad dick. Like we cruised for limp. We understand that like, you don't have to have like a huge swinging member to be worthwhile, right? Like everything, whatever you have or don't have is great.
Yeah.
So like the point of the joke is always just be like, he couldn't put his money where his mouth is, but that's based in the same kind of regressive bullshit the joke is based on.
Yeah.
Like shaming that dude for having a small member. Yeah. Who cares whether his member is small? Maybe he's a fucking demon with his tongue, dude. Michael Crichton, considered how good that guy is about going downtown. Yeah. He might walk in Memphis like a motherfucking champ. Like
even beyond that, like just I learned that story in like a business law class or a media law class, talking specifically about libel and slander, as a way to illustrate that, the best defense for any of those is the truth. And also here is like one particularly shitty way that it cut against the person who was, had some shit written about him.
Yeah. There's also the two-headed dragon troll thing in Willow, which is called the Ebor Sisk, after Siskel and Ebert, which is small of you.
Yeah.
Creators of the best movie of all time.
I'm sorry. What movie are you talking about?
Nothing.
Okay.
The Shawshank Redemption. That'll shut you up. So anywho, they need to get their star out here, who is this character they used to light up the stage, Benita Soleil, who used to light up the stage, but she won't come out of her dressing room. Right. And this is my favorite. This is the joke. I like. It's not just the deep voice. I like that this would be John Benjamin. If this were made now, I like the Dr. Girlfriend thing. I just like that she listens to a record of somebody crying to help her concentrate. It's very funny.
Yeah. Well, it is not like immediately explained. Like you go back to like, oh, you're trying to get me out there, huh? And like as you're talking, like you hear the you have to, as Raz, ask like, oh, wait, who's crying? And then she delivers the joke.
Yeah, and the joke is legitimately super good. Like, woman with a deep man voice, haha. Like possibly, problematic at this point. Also, you just did that with Linda, with the lungfish. But the listening to the record is very good.
Yes. So She can only perform when we get the spotlight, which you have to go into the storeroom, get it, and then put it up in the device that changes the mood. And kind of the default plays that you have are Sunshine Shenanigans, which is the happy play. And then there's like Hagatha's Home or something like that.
Yeah.
And they are about Gloria's life, Gloria's playhouse. It's about her, her idyllic childhood that she kind of remembers, and then her mom sending her away to this, stage daughters.
Sponsor.
Yeah, Black Swan's her kid. Yeah,
she Black Swan's her kid.
Yeah.
And the at some point the Phantom, there's a Phantom at play, drops this heavy light on one of the actors, and the critic shows up and blames the death on Bonita's bad acting.
Right.
Jasper has his own play, so you're going to go all this time you're running around both like getting new plays and also switching the modes, because they changed the geography of the level to allow you to get to new places. Again, clever as hell. Just friction.
A bad part, when you are in the sad area, the actors turn into these spinning top plant monster kind of things that will hit you. No matter what, they're going to hit you.
Yep. Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So in order to proceed, you need to get new scenes. You need to have new parts of the script. Jasper has his own script that he wants everybody to run, and it is the most overwritten, Shakespearean-esque prose kind of deal.
No, because that's critics. They just wish that they could make plays, but they can't, and that's why they do the thing. So. So, and when you talk to the producer, she says hey, don't mess around with that mood override that much. You end up with these happy plays on sad sets, sad plays on happy sets. It's total chaos. Or worse, improv. Haha. Fuck improv. So you're changing the set mood, getting more scripts, et cetera, et cetera. It keeps happening. Until you eventually bring in this boat that you can ride. And then once you do, you get to this new area. You ask her. She says, hey, is the hot air balloon prop still up? So you do this platform course where the Phantom is attempting to kill you with these stage implements. Kind of like the beginning, pre-boss fight of this.
Yes.
And the lighting and angles of this are really bad. You're just having things kind of thrown at you from a distance in the background. Very hard to dodge. This just ends up being something like a tank. A lot of this bullshit.
Additionally, the darkness ends up obscuring what is floor and what is pit. At least it did for me on my TV.
So neither of which I wanted fall down. There's also there's a clever bit here though, because if you have clairvoyance and you use it on the Phantom, and he looks at you, he just sees 1.5 stars, which is funny, and also what the critics said earlier. So it kind of foreshadows who that is. So again, the clairvoyance stuff in this game is good.
So you eventually get to a point where the critic is hold up, throwing his projectiles at you to stop you. You turn on the spotlight and it drives the Phantom over to the stands, and it reveals, shock of shocks, it is Jasper. Jasper and the Phantom are one and the same.
Yep. So this begins the boss fight. He has this box seat that grows these cannons that fire pens, that fire negative word energy attack at you.
The cannons are pens themselves, and he throws trite.
The words,
explodes.
just spears, critics at him. You have to stun him with a spotlight by taking a candle. You walk over to these things and light this candle that makes him vulnerable. Then you have to make your way down there and hit him.
It's really de rigueur.
Yeah, very, very de rigueur, and also just the perspective of this makes this annoying, I think. Once you take him down, Bonita Soleil can actually perform. And then Jasper is super tiny. He shrinks down because if you don't listen to the critics, you can actually, make beautiful art. So he shrinks down. Doesn't matter. He fits in a popcorn box. We talked to Gloria. She decides to leave, and she gives you the trophy. So, and this allows us that's 1/3 of the things we need. You can find this man in a straitjacket and a Napoleon hat, raving battle orders with this other guy trying to rein him in.
Yes.
Here. And the orderly is half blind. You have to, in a very adventure game thing, you have to get a disguise. To look like him in order to get upstairs. And this is the other two kind of bits we have to do.
Yes.
The first one, which is Waterloo World, which I think this is great.
Yeah, this is
pretty cool.
Pretty much a triumph with a couple of hiccups.
Yeah, like it's still not perfect, but this is probably my favorite level in the game. This and Milkman are kind of tied. I think this is more fun to play and a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
Milkman is a little bit funnier, but maybe like feels slightly less like. This just feels very clever to me.
Yeah.
So this is Fred.
Yes, this is Fred. This is Fred Bonaparte, and the reason it's not just that he believes he is Napoleon. He is actually like the great grandson of Napoleon, and in his head, Napoleon and him are playing the strategy game, like a Carcassonne kind of deal. I don't know. I have no idea. I've never played any of these nerd games.
It's got some Carcassonne DNA.
Yeah, it's got hexagons. But he's playing this game against Napoleon, and Napoleon's like, how can you call yourself a descendant of mine? I need to teach you the value of victory. And Fred is just giving up. He's like, all right, you can just win, but he will not forfeit his way out of this. And so, in order to proceed, you have to step onto the board, and you are shrunk down to run around on the hex grid.
Yes, where there are like pieces, like game pieces around, and little houses that represent like units in this board game. You're not actually engaging with any strategy here. Like you're not playing a board game. It's not defending Condor, the Phoenix egg or what have you in Final Fantasy VI, right? Like it's not what you're doing, but it has the cadence of that, where you have to kind of solve a series of problems to push back these armies on Napoleon's forces. Yeah.
I mean, it's all a bunch of adventure game stuff, but it is done through a really good metaphor.
And while it's happening, there's a little guy that follows you around shooting you. And will run away from you if you try to fight him.
This is patched out in the PS4 version. This didn't happen for me.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. In the PS2 version, there's like a little guy. You're getting needled the entire time you do this. Why? Yeah. Why? Like, what's the idea? Like, it does make it more challenging, but when you make something challenging, like ask a question whether it's to an end, right? Like I was talking about this game on Twitter, and Jim Crawford, the Frog Factions fella, said he was like, one of the things that I took away from Psychonauts is that the biggest thing I took away from Psychonauts as a designer is that players will only be bothered by bad design if it impedes their goals. And I was like, that's true, right? Yeah. Like if this didn't actually require like a little bit of heightened awareness and distraction, like it's because it's stopping me from playing the game that it sucks. It's not like it's getting in the way of the good design things. Yeah. Like just high difficulty brings all of the deficiencies into starker focus. And without that little guy there'd be no difficulty. Like you'd just be walking around doing the thing, laughing at the jokes, seeing the colors, admiring how they play with scale. What's wrong with that? Yeah. Like what if this does not put up a fight? Is it worse? Yeah. Not Psychonauts. Like this game, if this game did not put up a fight, it would be better. Right. And like that's kind of a final summation thing. But like this is where I got very frustrated with it. And it's worse in Black Velvetopia, where I was just like, why are you trying to stop me from playing you? Like this is just a question before you make something hard. Yep. It has to be to a purpose. Like I think Sekiro is 15% or so too difficult. I would never say the difficulty that doesn't have any kind of point, right? Like it's to an artful purpose at the very least. Yes. This is not to an artful purpose. No. And that is really damning because even while I'm doing this level that I love, I have this constant low level feeling of just being like, again, I'm trying to write a novel while someone flicks me in the back of the head with a pen. The whole time, and it's not okay. Yeah. Like it's very frustrating. Yeah. At the very least, if you're getting this on modern systems, I believe it is patched out. But the fact that they try to get it past you says something. Yeah. Yeah. And then there's the meat circus in general, which is the biggest thing that got patched out. Yeah. Which is also like, hey, you're at the end of this game. You really want to see the end of the story. You want to deal with these these characters, kind of see what happens. But oh no, we're gonna try to stop you because video game. Yeah. Just not the smartest or most elegant way that they could have tackled the problem they created for themselves, I feel like. Right. So anywho, so what you need to do, like there's a bridge, you have to put a carpenter unit there. He won't actually come out unless you get this burglar off of his roof. So you think it's a bunch of sensors because that's what's up there later on. At one point you arm a peasant. And he's the burglar. Yeah, he's the burglar. Like, oh man! And now I can finally rob that carpenter. Very funny. Yep. I love the gourmand knight. Yeah, like he's hungry. So you recruit these snails, like the snail armored unit, and they give this inspiring speech about how they're slow, but they're very powerful, and they're going to win this war through attrition and stuff. And then send them towards the knight. They think they're going to get into a fight, and the knight just eats them, which I think is very funny.
The quickest turnaround between my dismay at collect 10 of a thing to the actual delivery when you do it.
There's a lot of this that is just that very similar to the theater level, where it's just patience tax of you having to leave, right? So like one of the person's like, oh, like, you know, Fred doesn't care about us, so you have to go find one of the little corks that is a geyser that will make you big size again. So you can go to Fred and ask him to write a letter. I
love this. Like, hey, the people don't think you care about them. Well, what do you want me to do? Write a letter that says I care if they live or die? Yeah,
actually, which is funny, but it's not a puzzle, right? Like just saying, like, I just need to ask him, and just making me go through finding the little geyser, going up, doing the clicks and stuff to get it is just like a little bit annoying, right?
Yeah,
like it's just so weird, like the friction.
I mean, it's and the same thing happens when the militia guy wants money, like, oh, how much are you going to pay me? And like, oh, you've got to get big. Go talk to Fred. TK the coin out of the fireplace.
Yeah. And then you just have a coin, you know. It's just not like, it's not a puzzle. Like, you're not solving a puzzle. You're not really doing a challenge. You're just kind of doing a task.
Yeah.
That just kind of gives some friction that has really good flavor around it. So you get the needed people. Napoleon retreats, goes to his castle. You have to do this very annoying platformer section to unjam this drawbridge. Like, this sucks.
The checkpointing on this is fucking egregious. If you die, which you're going to, because they just put projectile enemies just guarding. Everywhere. Yeah, they're like just guarding at the edge of like long stretches where you have to glide. You know, like, so you're going to fall into the water. You start back on the mainland. You start as far away as possible from this thing as you possibly could.
Yeah. It's very tedious.
Yeah.
It's what they have kind of instead of a boss fight.
Yeah. Because, you know, when you lower the drawbridge, you move the knight into the castle and you just win. It's over.
Yep. Doing so gets Napoleon out of. There's also a part here too, is just a funny Easter egg. You can find the house that they're playing the game in.
Yep, I love it so much.
And that's so I just like, that's wow. You know, just like cool.
It's like whose idea was that, and did they get paid more?
Yeah, exactly. Just scale. That should have been a bonus. You know, or they should have gotten a bonus for that. Just very cool. So this Fred gets Napoleon out of his brain. Napoleon congratulates him. He's like cast off the shell of his family, or the shadow of his family, or what have you. And he says, like, I'll go take care of that orderly, but I'm gonna take a nap first.
It's funny. He's like, and now I can go strangle an orderly, but I've got to take a nap first.
I'm tired. You can take a straitjacket, which is the second piece of the thing you need.
Yes.
The second piece of the disguise.
The final thing that you're going to get is something to mimic Lobato's head, which is just a portrait of Lobato. You go up, there is this artist named Edgar who is chained up in a little chamber. He is doing black velvet paintings. And he's doing a painting of Dr. Lobato. And I was like, hey, it's pretty good. He goes to do his finishing touches. And the finishing touches involved just painting a picture of a bullfight over it. He does this involuntarily every single time. He is tortured by the bull.
Yeah, he keeps actually doing it. And this is like, this character is great. This is 1,000,000 years long.
Yep.
Like, this is the longest chapter in the game.
I'm still playing it.
Yeah, it's still happening now. The first people who are playtesting it are still playing it somehow, even though that's impossible. It is way too long and way too tedious, I think.
4 mini bosses.
Yep. So, pretty, you know, I dislike this immensely. It's also, as far as stories go, I think that Edgar, this is the least, like, interesting kind of, you know, psychosis or whatever.
Just depression and obsession. Maybe depression and compulsion, which, I don't know, maybe because I relate to it too much.
For me, it's not even, I think it's the origins that are just not that interesting.
Yeah. Because he's hung up on high school stuff.
Yeah, just like, that's not that, you know, we had somebody who let an orphanage burn down.
Yeah.
You know, like there's kind of big things. This is like, he was a jock and somebody stole his girl.
Right.
You know, who gives a shit? You know, like the fact that he's compulsive, and he also has like rage stuff. Like, there's a lot of things kind of tied up into it.
Yeah.
That are kind of interesting, but I don't think this is the best way to explore it.
Yeah.
Even though like the bull kind of going over and over is a nice like compulsion thing, and is torture to play through.
Yes, torture to play through. Visually, it is amazing.
Yeah, this looks great.
Yeah, again, the commitment to we're going to shade everything to be this black velvet and neon kind of look. Even the way they change Raz's outfit to make him fit in aesthetically to it, just great. Chef kiss, amazing. Yep. The music being kind of like an electric flamenco surf kind of feel, very good. Just misery to play.
Yeah, I really don't like any of the play here. Yep. So this bull, El Odio, always comes and knocks over these cards. Like Edgar's trying to build this tower of cards to reach this woman imprisoned in the sky, in this black velvet world, and the bull always comes to knock it over. So you need to find his queen cards so we can build this tower.
Yes.
And the bull is continually running through. You have to kind of make your way through different nodes sometimes in the area where the bull is. Like the undead chariot or something.
Yeah.
Every time it hits, you get the same little cutscene of you getting hit, getting trampled, and then like starting over where you ended up. And it just makes everything we're going to describe that you're doing a little bit annoying. Yeah. Because like if you know exactly what to do, you can limit your interactions with the bull. I didn't know exactly what to do. No. Like I ended up spending like a lot of time, just kind of I barely remember this from when I was younger, and spent a lot of time kind of exploring and trying to poke at edges to figure out what they wanted me to do next.
Yes.
So yeah, that's just very annoying.
Also annoying, just mechanically from the economy standpoint, are the dogs who sell the paintings. I love that they used to play poker together, but now they're trapped in the alleys.
Yep.
The annoying part is that they sell the paintings. You have to use the psychic arrowheads. In order to buy them. You just might not have enough. So guess what? You're going to go grind a little bit more to get the paintings that you need.
Yep. Why do they take that currency?
Yeah.
It's just kind of weird. I don't know. And also it just kind of feels like, we haven't engaged with the economy. The player probably has a bunch of arrowheads. They'll feel bad if they couldn't spend them, and like that, it feels like that was the idea, but I don't want to engage with this economy.
Let those people spend them to get concept art.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. Two needs that I have absolutely no sympathy for. I just dealt with in one fell blow.
You guys play in the corner.
Yeah.
So you're going and collecting these queens. They all take you to admittedly kind of fun, or kind of not fun, funny mini boss fights.
Yeah.
That are luchador fights.
Yes. Again, luchador before like luchador was run into the ground by
before Guacamelee too.
Yeah. But yeah, so you like every queen that you get takes you in, and they are themed after animals. So like Tiger, it's pretty basic. He does these charging attacks or whatever. The real fun stuff comes with the others.
Yeah. So the dragon, his suit is covered with sulfur. So you keep asking like why he has this fart smell.
He's like, no, it doesn't smell.
Yeah, exactly. Which is cute. Yeah. Pretty basic when you fight him. You use pyrokinesis on him when he does in between these flame attacks.
Yeah.
None of these are that hard.
Right. Just long.
Yep. When you to get the next queen, you have to go down in the sewers, which are like a high school. There are like bleachers and basketball courts down here. There's a great little line where like Raz, like, this is making me nostalgic for high school, which is weird because I'm only 10, which is funny.
Like he's feeling it really hard. Like at one point he says, "Who am I?"
Yeah.
Like it's causing this weird little identity crisis at him. I love the eagle. The eagle is very good.
The eagle is very funny.
Because he goes out and he does this pose, and instead of doing like a screech or whatever, he just goes caw.
Yeah, it just kind of says that very gently. Caw. It's very funny.
But he does his aerial attacks.
In between there, you have to do this little puzzle thing. Like this dog artist has been hired to paint an ad for the big fight. And you need to talk to this matador, Dingo. Dingo in Flagrante.
Such a good name. That is like very a masterclass name.
Yeah. And if you go up there, you get the confusion powder. One of the annoying things is you can go and do this mini boss fight before you have the thing you need to do it.
Yep.
To beat it.
That's how I did it.
And it's very frustrating because the Queen of Spades takes you to fight this Cobra.
The Junior King Kong Cobra.
Who just keeps talking about how he has this focus. You can't interrupt his focus. You need the confusion grenade to do it, which has an annoying wind up and is hard to do on a timing thing, which you have to do a little bit later.
Also limited ammo
for no reason.
No.
But the annoying thing is I just feel like you can break somebody's concentration in every way that I have.
Yes.
Like every merit badge can do that. It's just annoying. Like and you can go to the fight earlier. Yeah. So I went to the fight. I'm like trying to set this guy on fire. I'm running around. I'm like dying. I'm like, why can't I do the thing? I just did stuff in the wrong order. I didn't go get the confusion power. Just sloppy.
Annoying. The dialogue is good. If you clairvoyance on him, he thinks that you're Edgar. And he's talking at you like, you are Edgar. And he's even, saying like, oh, just that's why, you never succeeded, just your coach told us not to feel anything. You feel everything, etc. So use the confusion grenades, again, something that suffers from lock on. And the cook time seems really inconsistent. Whether they would, explode when and where you wanted them to, or whether they would bounce ineffectually. Again, sloppiness.
Yep. After you take him, you complete this, you can complete the tower here. When you climb up, the woman, thanks you for killing Elodio, but you didn't. He's here, and it's actually Edgar. Edgar is the bull who's running in circles.
Mm-hmm.
And we have this bullfight with him where you have to pull these spears from the ground. And there's just like this little narrative, like, oh, he's a ancient creature who's only going to be harmed by ancient bullfighting weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And the spears have a specific name. I don't know the name.
Benderias.
Benderias.
You gotta be the picador.
The weirdly incredibly cruel practice.
Oh, ridiculous that humans do this.
Yeah, just absolutely disgusting.
Yeah. And it's weird too, because like in the kayfabe of bullfighting, the people who do the spearing, the picadors, like the crowd makes a show out of hating them because of how cruel what they do is, but the matador is adored because their entire thing is taking their sword and piercing the heart so it dies immediately. So like it's all part of the same ritual, but like we're gonna hate this one guy, he's the heel, and the good guy is the one who actually delivers the blow, and it's actually good to kill these animals.
Like even like if you put a gun to my head and say like, is it better to kill this animal painlessly and instantly than torture it with spears?
Yeah,
like you got me. TV tropes, hyperlink. It's actually more humane than you think.
Yeah, no, I get it, but like it's still we're like all of this.
There's a third option you're not considering.
We're still all choosing to do this. You could have stopped any time, Walker.
Yeah, exactly. There's a third option you're not considering here. Ancient Spanish tradition. Yeah.
Fucked up.
Silly. Fucked up. This is literally just a bullfight fight where he gets stuck on a wall and then you have to telepathy spears into him. But then the twist is we learn that he's not dead. He turns back into Edgar, and now we have to take out what's his head?
Dingo. We have to take out Dingo. One of my favorite details about this, I have no idea how problematic it is. Throughout the entire level, everybody has been speaking in this very ornate Spanish, kind of romantic accent or whatever. When it's revealed that like Dingo and the Queen were just, the two cheerleaders, the male cheerleader who ran off with his girlfriend, the girl cheerleader, their voices immediately turn like just incredibly white.
Yeah.
Just like straight up immature high schooler kind of deal. That was very funny. That turn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mechanically, this is annoying.
Yeah.
Because you throw this confusion bomb at Dingo. So he thinks he's a bull, so you can throw spears at him, which you have to pull out of the bowl.
Right.
Which has that bad aiming problem.
Mm-hmm.
And afterwards, the cheerleaders, the two characters left are portrayed as very pathetic. And that lets Edgar get over them.
Yes.
That like let them have each other. Fuck them.
And then he opens up a pit and drops them down into it, and he is over it. I can't believe I was hung up on those fools.
Yep.
Yeah. So Edgar, he's able.
Yeah.
Good.
Weakest character story to me, still very much. Like it's not like the compulsion is fine, but him just like being hung up on a high school lost love. Like when you're brainstorming things that people could have these serious problems with.
Yeah. Like,
it just feels very basic.
Why choose now to be relatable?
Yeah, this should have been an earlier problem.
Yeah.
If like the one guy is trauma from his lost parent and the other one is guilt, and then we have this like familial thing, and then we have like actual manic depressive disorder, and now it's like, my lost love, like the one who got away. It just, I don't know. There's something about it and it's probably just because of how annoying I find the level, but I just don't.
It starts sapping goodwill from other aspects of it.
Yeah.
So back in real life, Edgar has finished his portrait of Lobato, and he is getting ready to go. This is enough for you to complete your disguise. You have the claw hand, you have the jacket, and you've got Lobato's face. So you can go talk to this orderly. What's very fun is the orderly used to be a patient in the asylum, and Fred, the person that we played the board game with, he gave the board game to Crispin, to the orderly, and their matches drove him insane, and Crispin just leveraged that power over him. Yeah. So they kind of change places. But you go talk to him, and then you get into the elevator, and it is time for Bonaparte to exact his revenge. So we're going to see that later. This Crispin is dealt with. Bonaparte strangles him, I guess. Funny.
Because he's bad.
Yes.
He's got a bad haircut. Now we're on the upper asylum floors. This is Misery. This is a very long platforming challenge with like lots of problems endemic to the genre. Things like, hey, there's a floor above me. There's like one hole in the ceiling that maybe I didn't look like. I kept running into dead ends where I was like, where the fuck do I go? Like, I feel like I have all this. Yeah. There's not enough visual differentiation between this for me to create a reasonable mental map of where to go. And the getting these places is tricky in a way where I cannot determine if I'm not meant to be able to get there or I'm just not doing it well.
Yeah. Oh, so the critical path has me climbing up this bit of rebar that looks like it is geometry that's clipping through stuff at accident. Okay. Yeah. Just bad. Yeah. Extremely bad. It takes forever. We're not going to talk about it that much, other than the fact that while you're doing these annoying platforming challenges, this woman taunts you and sends exploding rats at you that not only explode and damage you, but cause confusion, which flips your screen. Yep. In the middle of these incredibly challenging platforming sections.
Just
why?
Bottom of the barrel.
Like, how did this get past anything?
Yeah, just horrible. Like some of the worst stuff we've done for the show. Yeah. Like I was so annoyed at this. Yeah. And it's like, again, just drawing back to the beginning of the episode, like when people talk about Psychonauts, they have things like this, like they're just like, oh yeah, that sucks, but this line is worth it. Yeah. It's worth the thing. And it's like, why does a video game or a piece of art have to be this transactional model where you insert misery to get joy from another spout? It doesn't have to be that way. Yeah. Like this just sucks. Like just let it suck.
Like it doesn't. We don't have to make a bargain.
Yeah. You don't have to bargain with stuff like this. Like there are things where it's like you put up with some stuff. Yeah. Right. But there's something about this specific genre and the specific tasks that you're being told to do in this. Like the fact that they are explicitly platforming and that you are getting confused, so it fucks with your interface, right? Like one of the things when I sit down to make fun of something that I know people of, I think, what straw men can I create that are going to give me counterpoints? And one of the ones I thought of was like someone's gonna be like, oh, you have a problem with this, but you don't get mad at the cursed sewers and Torment. And like one, like yes, I do get mad at that. Two, the nature of that game is I can open the console up and be invincible. Yeah. If you just want to play Torment for the story, that is an option. Like you can just do it. It's always an option. The amount is in your hands. Like you can just run past most of that stuff too. Like it's annoying. It's bad. Like but you don't have to really engage with it. There's no way to get to the top of this without engaging with both of those twin problems. No. And there are cheats for this game. And there's a really clever fucking thing where if you cheat, you hear your dad's voice for the first time. And that's really clever and cool. But it doesn't stop you. It doesn't make this easier to navigate. It doesn't make it easier to actually engage with this part of the game. Yeah. Like it's non-optional. It's mandatory.
Yeah. It's like a game. You run into this with the Evil Within, right? It's got a difficulty slider, but the thing about that game that is difficult is not affected by it. Like that is just for combat. It is not for the instant death that is scattered throughout this. There's basically nothing you can do, like short of going into a console and no clipping and just flying up to where you need to be, that like will make this platforming better.
Yeah. And make it, even if you don't take damage from the little exploding rats, you're still getting confusion. You are still having your rhythm interrupted.
Yeah. And so the way this is designed, the way the way that people, were meant to go through this was to feel every single one of these hangups, was to hit every seam like this.
Because it's not a video game if it's not putting up this resistance. Like at the end of a game, you need to increase the challenge, which is like just like two like very broad principle things that like I've been thinking about like this year a lot is like one, question that. right? Yeah. Like have your breather levels, have things be eerily silent and easy can accomplish a lot.
Yeah.
But two, you know, I'm always going to be interested and impressed when a video game will do something other than making you repeat yourself as a cause for failure. Yeah. Right. And we got into an interesting conversation on the Slack about it because we were talking about like decision points in The Witcher, right? Like in The Witcher, you don't know what the fail condition is when you make the decision. Mm-hmm. You just the game goes forward. There is no fail condition for making the wrong decision, you know, or The Walking Dead, right? Like this person will remember that. Maybe I made a bad decision. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. And for some people, that's rough. Mm-hmm. That's hard to understand. I can understand that. I don't understand people for whom mechanically are like, yeah, I'm going to do this over and over.
Yeah.
Like, give me this like really, really precise jumping puzzle. And like, we're not talking about Celeste here. Like this is not a finely tuned Super Meat Boy-esque platforming masterpiece, right? Yeah. Like it's janky as hell. Like, and just making me do it over and over and over because I failed accomplishes nothing.
They're putting a huge expectation on us as the player without having done a commensurate amount of without having put a commensurate amount of care into the way the platforming actually works.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and in a game like this where the point of it is, I mean, I remember thinking about this about Undertale, where I was like, what is the point of Undertale being hard? Like this is supposed to be a cute, funny game with great music and like funny situations and likable characters. And then they make that game very hard. You can try over as many times as you want, but they make it very difficult.
Yeah.
And then it's like they say like, well, it's because when you die and you start over, somebody gives you a little message about not giving up, and it's supposed to be about perseverance. And like, one, is that game really about that? Two, how many fucking games are there about that? Is that a unique enough thing to be worth saying here?
No.
Anything that this game could be saying about that perseverance or that challenge has been said better and since the beginning of video games.
Yeah.
And the unique things it has to say are interfered with by that other thing. So like, focus on your strengths. Like, what do you want to get across with this? You know,
don't get in your own way. You're tripping over yourself.
Don't get in your own way. You're tripping. You played yourself. Congratulations, you're DJ Khalid now. That's what happened to you. That's how that gift goes, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I don't, you know, I got those flashbacks, like Undertale flashbacks, like this flashbacks where I'm like, why are you hard? Yeah. Why are you hard? You know, you're supposed to be funny. You don't have like hard and funny never go together.
I thought you liked video games. Why are you getting out here saying like, oh, hard things are bad?
Well, yeah, I think I need to direct you to a little all the Duckfeed presents I've been doing on noted hard games, Enter the Gungeon and Divinity Original Sin 2, which people regularly are telling me they're bouncing off of because they're too hard. So I got the receipts. Straw man, straw coal. Got the receipts. I just think that like the point of those is the challenge. The point of this is not, and they engages with it. And we're gonna get to Meat Circus, and it's 1,000 times worse. Mm-hmm. Just copy and paste this part of the conversation and stick it in Meat Circus, and then we'll just be like bad jumps, Coach Dad, you know, Oleander Dad, and that can be that whole section.
Yeah. It just such a strange escalation for them to make for basically nothing. Like what point does this section serve to get to the top where Lobato's doing his thing? What does this say about the asylum, about Lobato himself? Like, you know, say what you will about the tenets of National Socialism. Say what you will about like the worst of these levels. At the very least, when you're in Meat Circus, there is something being said about the characters. There is theming. Yeah. This is just a big spooky building.
What if this was an elevator ride and Raz thought about his buddies and like what he had gone through?
Yeah.
Or he thought about the people he'd helped or something.
Yeah.
You know,
I generally don't like, you know, jumping out and saying, oh, that's filler. Like this space literally doesn't need to be here, and it is not moving. Yeah. It is not moving any pieces forward. Like it is just the cornmeal, but like within the cornmeal is, you know, some of those little poppers that you throw at the ground that explode and then it blows your teeth apart.
Yep. Okay. This sucks, but you get past it. It takes forever. You get past it. There's a crow that will stop you. You have to turn invisible to get past him. Okay. You just haven't used invisibility for a little while. Yeah. Here goes. We run into this woman who's been taunting us, who is Shigor, the female Igor, who is Lobato's assistant. And he's saying, like, you've been giving me these terrible brains. If you don't bring me better brains, I'm going to kill your pet turtle, Mr. Pokelope.
Yeah.
Who's this little king turtle.
He's wearing a crown. I fucking love Mr. Pokelope.
Mr. Pokelope is very funny. The reveal for here, like, it's like, yes, you've done it on enough times. 3 times in the space of like 4 hours of just having somebody have an incongruous voice. This shouldn't work, but it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
As is.
Yeah. Shigor, voiced by Tara Strong, just straight up doing bubbles.
Yeah. I find her voice incredibly annoying.
Yes.
I do not want to listen to her.
Right. So upstairs, Mila and Sasha are brainless, again, saying TV, and Lily has not had her brain extracted. So we need to work to free her. To do this, we are working with Shigor. We need to take away the leverage that Dr. Lobato has over her. We need to get Mr. Pokelope out, which we have to do just by luring him to the side of his cage with a piece of birthday cake that's there for some reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know.
And then you TK him out.
Yeah, it was his favorite. She had made a birthday cake for him. It's just to give it a little bit of adventure game.
Yeah.
DNA. Mm-hmm. So you TK him out. You now have him as an inventory object. And here is, like, again, it impresses me. I didn't do this, but I was reading about it. You can go back to camp and talk to all the people whose brains you've saved.
Yeah.
We can talk about finding brains. But you find brains. That's how you do heart containers, basically.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the same, but that's how you get extra health. And when you pick them up, you kiss them, which is gross.
I love that.
That can make you very sick.
Prions, man.
Yeah, but it's delicious. So you can go back and anybody whose brains you saved, which they kind of have in general, like, disappointing amounts of dialogue.
Yeah.
Like, you go back and you can just kind of chat with them, and it's cute, but it doesn't do a lot. But you can show them the turtle. Yeah. And nobody has a really funny joke, but they all have unique lines.
They all recognize this doesn't look like anything to me. Yeah. So, this whole time Shigor's been saying, he'll tell us what to do. Mr. Pokelope will tell us what to do. Turns out he actually is. He sentient, and he has like a deep John Shaft voice.
Yeah. And they have an explicitly romantic relationship.
Yeah.
That's a great subversion. Like, you think, this is just going to be, a cute little girl with her pet. Mm-hmm. But no, they're lovers.
Yep.
Mr. Pokelope fucks. Like, it is,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, baby. I'm back.
So he whispers the plan. What we have to do, Shigor brings a really good brain to Dr. Lobato. We never get like a lot of backstory on him. That is actually expounded on in the Rhombus of Ruin. Yeah. But he's just evil scientist guy. Here's this really good brain that I'm sad to give you. It's actually Mr. Pokelope's brain. And you can throw it into the brain tank, and he blasts Lobato off at the tower, kind of taking him off the board.
Mm-hmm. Like, we don't get a boss fight with him or anything. This kind of takes it. We're going to transition to other boss fights here in a moment.
So you go upstairs, and you, and kind of a nice touch, you recranialize Sasha and Mia, and then you add your blast to theirs to free Lily. So like you're already working on a team with these badass agents, which is nice. Mm-hmm. And then Oleander shows up. He's kind of the mastermind behind this.
Yep. And he wants Raz's brain as the secret weapon.
Yeah, he's got big plans for that mind.
Everybody. Yeah. He starts trying to zap everybody, but Mia and Sasha get into like a psychic battle with him. And Mia puts you, like, tries to protect you. Like, when you use clairvoyance on them, Sasha sees you as a little version of him, and Mia sees you as baby.
Yes.
Like, you are a baby.
You're a little baby.
There's been this running thing with Lily where she, like, you can read her thoughts, whether you're trying to or not, where she wants to make out with you.
Yes.
This running joke with it. It's cute. She sees you as a knight in shining armor, which is kind of cute.
Yeah.
But they levitate you down off of the tower.
Yes. And then a series of improbable events leads to the tower exploding. Edgar, he pulls himself free from the chains, which breaks a gas line. Gloria wants to water her plants, so she turns the gas line on. Fred invites Boyd to leave. Boyd is the one who's holding the Molotov. He says, okay, I've got one last job to do. He throws the Molotov cocktail, igniting the entire tower.
Yeah. Cute little cutscene.
And then Crawler shows up and diffuses Oleander by blowing sneezing powder into his face, causing him to sneeze his brain out.
Yep. He's got a bit of titanium on his back. That's how he can operate outside of things. And as is happening, Lily and Raz finally kiss. The tower falls behind them. It's very cute. But this debris comes down. Raz protects her from it. and Coach's brainless body crawls out of the wreckage looking for a TV, but his brain unfortunately has landed in a Psy tank, creating a boss fight here. This Psy tank boss fight.
Yep, the Psycho Blaster, which is a little bit of a repeat of the Psy tank that you fought before. This time, though, it has surrounded itself with debris, and you have to TK boulders into boards to create an opening. Pretty basic. Again, nothing too terribly inspired about it.
No, you have to TK the boulders into the boards and then light the boards on fire, then TK wreckage on top of the glass tank and do that 3 times. Yeah. It's a little annoying because everything is kind of rotating in this parallax.
Kind of way. Different speeds.
And they want you to he'll throw boulders at you. They're impossible to like dodge consistently. You're supposed to use the shield, which just means pressing start and switching to shield constantly.
Yes.
Like that should have been a button, not a power that you, and that's one of the, like, when I think about Psychonauts 2 and I think about what things they can improve, it's not like they've spent this whole time making 3D platformers, right? Nope. Like, I don't think that's gonna be a great 3D platformer, but surely somebody now would suggest making that a button.
Yeah.
You know, like having a parry or shield button as opposed to like making it a inventory power. So, you do this thing. There's not a whole lot to it. You go up into the tank to get Oleander's brain, but a blast of the sneezing powder makes you lose your brain.
Right.
So now you control your brain on its own using TK to throw yourself into the tank.
I love that. That's really good.
It's pretty funny. It's cute. And your consciousness merges with Oleander's in the tank. And then we now have the finale, which is your childhood and Oleander's childhood kind of mixed.
This is the meat circus. You know, you appear, you've got a little baby Oleander, calls himself Ollie, and he is obsessed with protecting these bunnies. We're going to find out why here. Meat circus, infamous, one of the worst levels we've done for the show.
Yeah. This is. I mean, I'm gonna put the fucking asylum floors on that list too, right? It's crazy to have 2 Psychonauts levels in the bottom 10, but like here we are.
Yep.
Because this is just a nightmare. Like, I played the original hard version. And I did it by riding that save state button to kind of keep myself sane. They improved this, but at its fundamentals, like the base level, it is broken and bad.
Right. So the way that they improved it was they changed what actually took away your lives, and they changed a little bit of the checkpointing. I got to tell you, I played the PS4 version, and the checkpoints are still fucking egregious.
Yeah. Well, they also change. So I've never played the new version. They also changed the time limit part of it. So like, while this is happening, like these rabbit creatures are killing Oleander, and you have his health bar to worry about. So when I played this originally, when I was 25 or whatever, the thing that made me want to throw myself off a bridge was that not only was I doing this annoying platforming and annoying combat, I had this time limit of this other health bar. Yeah. Is that changed in the updated version?
Still there. Maybe they relaxed a little bit, but but plenty of deaths, plenty of start overs back at the beginning of the level, no matter how far I got. Were the result of Oleander being attacked.
I basically did this as a TASBot.
Yeah.
Like, was how I played it and made it okay, which meant it was incredibly time consuming, but I did not have to watch as many like loading screens. And repeat myself. So the rhythm is like, or go ahead.
And just generally, I didn't beat this game, Gary. We just want to lay this out here. I got to the final, the next to final boss. I was about to land the final hit, and the game crashed. All that I had was the autosave at the beginning of the meat circus. So all that we're describing, I would have had to do again in order to get through. So that is my that is my mea culpa.
Yeah, you beat it before.
Yes.
So you know about it. Yeah. It's and I don't blame anybody for quitting out at this point.
Yep.
Nobody should beat this. No, like literally no one should do this level. I shouldn't have done it twice in my life. Like I shouldn't have done this twice before I died. They shouldn't have made it. Like it's really bad. So the kind of structure of it is Oleander is chasing his bunny while these rabbit creatures attack him. They kind of gang up on him and start hitting him, and you have to do a series of platforming challenges to get to him and rescue him, which then causes him to go up to another level and do a more intense version of platforming challenges.
Yeah.
Really, really harsh checkpointing. The collision stuff, it's like very precise. You're doing a lot of trapezing.
Yes.
In these sections, and a lot of just like my mantle failing to fire.
Yep. Mantle failing to fire. So there are sections where you have these knife throwers who are throwing their knives at a board that is rotating, and you have to juke them so they hit the board and not you. Like whether or not the knives would track you and hit you and not the board is just incredibly inconsistent. And when you're waiting for the timer, when you're fighting against the timer, waiting for that knife to come all the way back around while you are just either taking damage or trying not to take damage and failing, you're like just like, hey, clock's ticking.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good.
Yeah,
like it feels very bad. And that kind of tracking that the knife thrower has is just, again, this game sacrificing something for challenge. Like it's more challenging that he is more likely to hit you. Like he's a threat. He might hurt you.
Yeah.
Video games, but it doesn't help. Like it's not additive to this as an artistic experience at all. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
To say something positive, those rabbit creatures that are going after Oleander, genuinely cool and disturbing. The fact that they come out of these meat grinders.
Yeah.
Good scary designs.
Yep. We eventually get to the top of this, and there's this tunnel of love, because this is, again, as a circus mixed with meat, which is a rail grinding challenge. The rail grinding in this game has never been developed or robust enough to justify this,
right?
Like, or even really close. And there's just a lot of it. You get to this room with a giant meat grinder, and the butcher appears. And it's a gigantic butcher. At some point, we get the actual exposition as to what's happening.
Yeah.
This is Oleander's childhood. His father was a butcher. I think Crawler pops out of your ear and tells you.
Yeah.
His dad was a butcher. He must have wanted to save the rabbits. He didn't like the butchering. So this is his dad. The voice acting on the dad is phenomenal. Like, again, like they didn't skimp on any of the good things of this last part. Like the bad things got worse and worse and worse, but the good things stayed just as good. Like there's this thing where he's just like, stop running or I'm going to kill you. And the way he delivers, he goes like, stop running or I'm going to kill you. Like he does this like, nah, like this like really.
He does like a Jack Torrance thing.
Yeah. Kill ya. Like it's very like, it's very hoo-ha. He's gonna give me a Dunkachino. I'm like way into it. Like, I just love it. It's just really, really great voice acting, and the most stock standard. Like, in 2005, was it impressive to climb up a boss? Like, up to, like,
kinda. I mean, like they had a whole game that was made of that.
Yeah, remember that? Like where it was like actually there's a sense of scale, because this is just he chases you, he hits his knife into the ground. You climb up the knife and you can hit him on one spot that's a weak point. There's nothing to indicate that just his head would be a weak point, but that's his weak point.
Yeah.
Attack him and do that enough times until he eventually escapes. And then your dad shows up. This whole time you talked about your dad, how your dad hated psychics because of the family curse that you have. They killed his father. And this he's like this like pretty grotesque version of your dad.
Yeah.
Like he looks like Tom Waits in that Terry Gilliam movie or whatever.
Oh yeah,
like he's got like that kind of thing going for him, like Tyler DeMellion.
Yeah, just a blue skin, red hair, just completely zombified, and incredibly cruel. Like he climbs out of this bacon envelope and is like, "Oh, Raz, what have you done to my circus? You've been hanging out with those fortune tellers, and just saying bigoted stuff against psychics, and also berating his son for not measuring up." And so this starts the second leg of the level, the acrobatic run is what this is called, where he is going up all of this, acrobatic equipment kind of stuff, and you have to chase after him while a water level is rising below you. So this is timed with instant death below you as you are doing incredibly demanding platforming.
Oof, yeah.
Special shouts out, mega fuck yous to whoever decided to put that curved cage at the top of this, with parts of it that are just on fire. And if you hit the fire, you let go and boop, you're over. It's done. And like if you just do a double jump, you are not able to get the next little section as well. You have to like double jump out and then glide back in a move that makes no intuitive sense.
Yeah. Really, really horseshit.
Yeah.
Absolutely horseshit. Your dad calls you a cheater and there's a lot of, again, dad stuff. Like, you used to like it when we played catch and he throws juggling pins at you, daddy issues, etc. For somebody who has so few feelings about my father, daddy issue stuff doesn't really work on me. I expect this kind of thing to be a little bit more resonant, but it really isn't. Yeah. But anyway, you get to the end, he pierces this wall, which sucks you into another part of the tent. And now Raz's dad and the butcher have kind of like merged.
Well, no, this is where they team up. Like, this is another. This is the boss fight that crashed for me, where the butcher is walking around and his blades are on fire now, so you can't run up them. And Raz's dad is throwing the juggling things out. You have to TK the juggling pins into the butcher to make him take a knee, so you can go up and berate him for not loving America.
Yep, obnoxious. Yeah. The ghost, so you've had this ghost kind of talking to you this whole time, and it appears into your real dad, who is like actually a good guy. He's like shocked to see how you see him. He's also a psychic, and he just wanted to keep you safe.
Yes.
He wasn't against psychics. He just wanted you not to, go chase some waterfalls.
he didn't want you to go into the high stakes world of being a psychic assassin.
Don't be like me.
Right.
So now here is where the butcher and evil dad combine into a gigantic, like, kind of Frankenstein, where he moves very fast during this, and real dad kind of gives you this huge energy body, turning you into a Kaizo as well. So you can do this beat 'em up thing. There's like nothing to it.
Yeah.
Like, he chases you very fast. You have to move very quickly or turn invisible to get away from the big butcher dad, and then just wait kind of for your dad to power you back up to do this smackdown.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah.
Like, this final phase is not incredibly hard, and I'll take this over platforming.
Yeah.
There's nothing good about it as far as being fun, though.
Yeah.
Like,
theming is neat. Like, I like the design on the boss. I like the design on Energy Raz. But not enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not enough. Too little. Too late.
Yeah.
But eventually, though, you beat him, and you've now beat the final boss of Psychonauts.
Yeah. So
the monster goes down.
Yeah. Monster goes down. Raz and his dad, they flee through this collapsing mental landscape. And now they are just back in in Raz's mind, the conjoined mind of Raz and Oleander. All the meat is gone. And it's just the caravan, and then it's Oleander's rabbit hutches as they separate, and now you are no longer entangled.
Yep. And then we are in the final kind of cinematics. The game ends with Oleander giving this speech to the campers saying, like, now that the demons that made me insane are gone. And he points to this CAT scan, which is very funny.
And I present Exhibit 3, which is this CAT scan that clears me of responsibility.
Yeah, certified sane, Homer presenting the certificate, like, very funny. And we're in this, like, denouement. Like, Ford Kruller appears. He's got the titanium backpack. And recruits Raz for a Psychonaut. Like, it's like you could leave and go back with your dad, but you can be our Psychonaut. And we get to see one final, like, little Rocky triumph thing of you in the uniform you wanted, which is genuinely awesome. Like, super great moment. Like, you've earned it, kid. Like, I love Raz so much. You get ready to leave the camp. Lily's like, hey, where they're doing the end of camp thing. Like, hey, where's your family live? Like, hey, this is going to be a summer romance. It's going to go away, is what you think. And they kiss as if they're saying goodbye. But Sasha and Mia appear and say there's been another kidnapping.
Oleander's, I was here the whole time. You all saw it.
Yeah, very funny. And the victim of the kidnapping is Truman Zanato, who is the head of the Psychonauts and Lily's dad. So you decide to become a Psychonaut instead of going back home. It's not goodbye to Lily. And as we find out in the sequel, it's like you're working together in the Psychonauts kind of base and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then that's the end of Psychonauts. Yeah. Like, one of the best games I take no joy in playing. And just a very frustrating and weird and conflicting experience the entire time.
So this feels like a weird and distant cousin of of Pathologic and the Pathologic problem. Where, like, that is the most amazing game that I would recommend nobody play. Right.
Different reasons, though. So
absolutely.
Somebody else brought that up in the Slack, and this is not bad on purpose.
Nope. the badness here is not to a point. It is not trying to grind you down.
Yeah, you're meant to be triumphant. Like, that moment at the end where you put on the Psychonaut suit is supposed to. It felt awesome. It's supposed to feel awesome. Would have felt awesomer if I wasn't so annoyed by the previous, 3 hours of bad platforming.
Yeah.
That I just done. Like, just it's weird. It's hard to recommend to somebody play this now. Like, I think there are people who played it at the time. Like, there are people who play it now and don't have a problem with it. And I just have a different experience. I can't explain that. There are people who played it then who are like, oh yeah, I love that game. I would caution people to revisit this. Like, you know, it's still funny. The writing is actually maybe better than you remember, but the other things I assure you will be worse. And it's just, I keep saying it, like, it is a bad way to experience a comedy movie having just a low level of irritation the whole time.
Yeah. And
it's like a ticket to a good movie and you got fired right before you went, you know?
Yeah.
Looking for this movie forever.
Oh, yeah. Geez. You know? It's frustrating because you want to make recommendations, right? Like, okay, there's good stuff here. How do you get it? And I don't know that I could say like, oh, watch a YouTube compilation of the cutscenes, right? I don't know that I could say like, oh, just like watch a no commentary Let's Play and you'll get it. I don't know. If I watched a Let's Play of this, I would just be frustrated by the jumps. Like I would imagine myself playing it and, you know, who knows if that would feel worse than actually doing it. But like, man, like, but like there's enough of the theme that comes through in the actual exploration and stuff that feels like just like it a part of the overall package that you don't just want to skip over, right?
Yeah, it would be boring as like a Let's Play.
Yeah,
you know, because you would end up watching a lot of the jumps, and even if you weren't frustrated in watching it, you would still, it's not fun to watch. Like it's not like there's a lot of mastery, there's not a lot of like skill going on. There's not a lot of expressiveness in play, you know, which is what you might want from that kind of thing. I don't know the best way to experience this either. Like there is like a 3-hour cutscene compilation, which will probably give you some of it.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a lot of ways to experience like 70% of what's good about this and none of what's bad.
Yeah.
There's no way to experience everything that's good about it and none of what's bad.
Yeah.
You know, it's either like take the whole pill or not. And I didn't have fun.
Yeah.
You know, playing the game at all. Like, I think that, you know, we talked about this. I think this, you know, what you would give up if you made this a comic or a cartoon, right? Is that exploring a space as a metaphor thing would not come across quite as strongly.
Right.
You wouldn't necessarily have the clear, like the attention to detail gags, like the clairvoyance or the, you know, having an author choose what to show you in terms of those things takes away a little bit about what's special about it.
Yeah.
Is that worth the trade of playing a 12-hour really bad 3D platformer? Like to me it is. Like getting 80% of what's good about this would be worth getting none of what's bad about it.
Yeah.
Personally. But I really think interactive CD-ROM like Walking Sim World of Psychonauts or a PC patch that removes the enemies and it just gives you a door that gets you to the end of every platforming challenge.
Yeah, give me a tourist mode.
Give me a tourist mode of this. Like I think that's what would do it.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be able to explore and talk to people and kind of get to know this world. All that stuff's great. I just never want to hit jump.
Yeah. Give me Psychonauts by way of like Telltale or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Telltale Psychonauts is a phenomenal idea.
Yeah.
You know, like that would be, you know, that would be really good. Yeah. You know, and if it was all those labor abuses that stopped from getting that, or Telltale's Venture Brothers, which is the thing I really wanted.
Oh yeah, of course.
That would have been great. But this would have been great. And it's like, it's this weird thing where I'm so, like the goodwill, like the amount I want this to succeed, the amount I like Tim Schafer, the amount I love these characters, it's like, man, like I'm probably, you know, not going to pre-order it, but I'll probably play Psychonauts 2, even though it's in a genre I don't like, and they have done nothing to earn my trust, either as a franchise or a company, you know, as far as like it being a good game to play.
Yeah.
Like I don't have any confidence about that, but I'm just like, yeah, I do want to see him go on adventures as a Psychonaut. Like, you know, like at the end of the day, like, yes, I would like to see that.
I'm invested. I want to see him. I want to see him fight alongside Mia and Sasha. Like, just I love these characters so much.
Yep. I wanted, like, Lily looks like she has a bigger part in it. I want to see more about that. Like, I like that stuff. I think that's cool. I just, man, I wish this was more fun to play. Yeah. And there's also like, I think that like gamer psychographics, like as a gamer American, like I go through phases, right? Like there are times where I am much more kind of narratively charged and would get a little bit more out of this. There's a little bit of this is hitting me like at peak system Gary.
Yeah.
Like I'm just like, I want to admire mechanics. I want to have things that feel good in my hands. I want to like, you know, I want to do that kind of thing. And I'm in a real phase with that kind of stuff where I'm less likely to turn the other cheek on bad stuff. But like you in general, I think are more likely to turn the other cheek on that stuff. And this still got past your barriers.
Yeah.
Like as an annoyance, you know? So it's not just me being cranky because I don't like average things that have charm.
Yeah. I can extend enough benefit of the doubt in the moment and then gather the pieces later to put together and say, all right, let's let's put this together and see how it goes. Like for me though, in the moment, the friction was enough that like I didn't relish sitting down to play this. I had to really force myself to do it. Which is just it's a shame. And that is always a bad sign for games that we cover on the shows. Cause normally, it's fine to sit down and play a game for a show.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed. Like that is, that's basically how I feel about it. Like at the end of the day, if I'm not looking forward to playing it, if I don't want to play it, if I don't want to sit down and play it, like that's a pretty damning statement.
Yeah.
Of it, and that's not always true of, I think inevitably some people will be like, well, that might be partly because you do this, to work. And it's like,
nah.
That happens sometimes, but like you'd be surprised by how often I like really look forward to sitting down and playing stuff for work.
Yeah, it would happen. It would happen more often, I think, if that was the case.
Yeah. Like this year, like what we've done, I can think of more examples than not of things I like sat down and really wanted to play.
Mm-hmm.
Like I devoured Life is Strange.
Yeah.
And like even right now we're doing Mirror's Edge, which is going to end up probably being my favorite of the three that we've done as far as things to play. And I like look forward to playing more of it. Like it's a great game in small doses. It's hard to mainline because it kind of has one trick, but that trick is fun and it has jank. The mantling does not, fire every time. I don't know why that's so hard, but like mantling doesn't always fire, but it is very fun to play. Like it's fun in my hands. I like it. I want to play more of it.
Yeah.
So like, it's not just because of, just because I Hat in Time and Psychonauts both had a hard time drawing me in does not mean that like that necessarily is just what life is for me as a gamer American.
Yeah.
So anywho, thank you very much to Gwen for suggesting this. I know, sometimes somebody suggests something and we're down on it and I never want them to feel bad because it's like, no, like it's, this is the act. This is the practice, right? Is going through the thing and evaluating it. And really, one of the things I'm thankful about for the show is solidifying my feelings on something.
Yeah.
Just being like, like I gave that, or I paid a lot of attention to that.
Mm-hmm.
I really sat down and examined what I thought of it.
Yep. I worked hard to give it its due.
Yep. Exactly. I worked hard to give this its due. Yeah. So, so thank you very much. Next episode, as we mentioned, Mirror's Edge.
Mm-hmm.
We, by the time you're hearing this, you have a little bit of time. The deadline is the 15th of the month to send in your responses about Mirror's Edge, A Hat in Time, or Psychonauts.
Yep.
For 3D Platformer Month for the response episode.
Mm-hmm. You go to Duckfeed.tv/contact.
Mm-hmm.
Please separate your observations. One response per game. That just makes it easier for us to include things. If you have thoughts about the games for August, which are Way of the Samurai, Final Fantasy V, or Wolfenstein: The New Order, then the deadline for that is August the 15th.
Mm-hmm. Yep. A real quick programming note about sponsoring episodes. You can still do so if you go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. We're almost out of slots for 2019. 2019. That doesn't mean you can't do it. We're going to start taking, we'll start reserving 2020. We don't have a problem with going that far in advance. I just don't want anyone to feel bad about it. So just so you know, if you have something like that, let us know first. And I can give you an accurate idea of when we can fit it into the calendar. It's been awesome. The stuff we have, like we're 95 or 99% set on the rest of the year, and it's cool stuff. I think people are really going to dig it. A lot of episodes I'm really looking forward to.
Same.
So, and you can also just do that to support us. If you go to patreon.com/DuckFeedTV, you get full episodes of this show at $5. You get access to the Slack. You get Bonfireside Chat. You get Abject Suffering. You get Unfilmable. You get all kinds of stuff. At $10, you get even more, and it only gets more stuff from there. We like to make sure people get a lot for their money.
Yes.
For this.
Speaking of a lot for your money, Duckfest tickets have gone on sale.
Duckfest tickets, as of recording, they are on sale.
Yeah.
This is a podcast festival we are throwing in Portland, Oregon on August 31st. It is a full day of Duckfeed shows. So from our camp, we are doing this show, Watch Out for Fireballs, Bonfireside Chat, Abject Suffering, Everything to Guppy, and Days of Futurecast. And then we also have 2 guest podcasts. They're local, Pitch Please and Spec Script. So it's gonna be a full day with like an intermission. It's in a theater. It will be really fun. Come eat junk food like a 12-year-old with us.
Yep.
And we got cool plans.
Yeah. Right. So tickets for that are $15, no convenience fee or anything like that. Just go to Duckfeed.tv/Duckfest and consider coming to join us. It'll be a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, you get a button. We're using buttons instead of tickets. Mm-hmm. So if you have that button, you get in. And people can, you get a little button. Yeah. And we also have like a bag of stuff we're going to give you and everything. It's going to be a really fun time.
Yep.
I think. We're doing a meetup afterwards at a barcade. Like it's going to be like one of those like long good days.
Yes.
I think. We would love to see you. So please come out. And then like ratings and reviews, telling your friends, all those things are very useful. We appreciate it.
I just need to make sure I don't eat any sketchy shellfish like right before Duckfest.
Yeah, please don't.
No.
Like if so, I mean, we'll put you on display. Like I got, I looked into a place to rent a dunk tank, and we can just empty it out of water and just put you in the bottom of it. And then you can just have whatever shellfish thing happens, and we'll all just sit in silence as like a Lynchian nightmare as people I'm going to get everyone to dress like they're from the 20s and sit in the theater and watch you in the dunk tank just having a shellfish explosion,
Yeah.
So,
Bravo, sir. Yeah. Bravo.
If you buy tickets for this, you're signing up for this art fuckery that I want to do. So just know that it's a happening. It's not a festival. Right. Duck happening didn't sound as good. So,
but yeah, it'll be a good time.
Yeah, I think it'll be really fun. I am going to make sure I don't have any. It's going to be a good week to be very careful about my health.
Yeah, just be on a bland diet, nothing but peanuts and rice.
Yeah, peanuts and rice, and then just like going to sleep at 9 p.m. and waking up at 9 a.m. Like just like all tons of sleep.
Yeah, don't sleep in a bed. Sleep suspended in a saline gel.
Yeah. Yep. Like vitamin B injections directly into my eyes, like all the time.
Yeah.
So. Yep. Yeah. So if you'd like to see the after effects of that, we have some dumb shit planned. Like I think it'll be fun. So just look forward to the dumb shit. It'll be some serious shit, but also some dumb shit.
Yeah.
Hopefully it will be a mix that matches what the network is.
Yes.
So that's about it.
Think so.
Until next time, what should they watch out for?
They should watch out for the rabbits, George.